Word, man. Yeah, B. What you think about having a kid soon, B?
No, not soon, but maybe one day. Maybe a Brian Jr. or a Brianna, maybe one day.
Brianna, you get to pick the name.
Yeah, I get to pick the name. She ain't got no say so in that. She can pick the middle name, but I pick the first name. They're gonna have my last name, so you know.
What if
I
she
support
want
you
to?
on that. I support you on that.
What if she want to do the hyphenating?
No, hell no hyphenate, no fucking
Come on,
hyphenation, shit, fuck that.
come on, B.
No,
Why you don't want to let her hyphenate your shit?
no,
That
because
still
when we
shows
get married,
separation.
you
Fuck
take
that.
my last name, so she'll need to
Exactly.
hyphenate. Her family always gonna be there. Hell, fuck her family, shit.
That's a power dynamic too. Freaking
Wait,
Ricky
question.
Williams did that shit recently with his white
Who?
wife. Ricky Williams,
Ricky
the running
Williams.
back,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't read about that.
he took her name. I'm just like, yeah,
Exactly.
that's a
Yeah.
goddamn mind.
That's some wild shit right there.
He's sick. What B?
Uh-huh.
What if she wanna? What if she wanna just hyphenate her last name?
No, you take my last name. If we marry, you take my last name. We don't do hyphenations. What the fuck is that? Hyphenations. So fuck that shit.
Yeah, but B, one thing you gotta stop saying English is your thing. Language, it's not. It's not.
Hey, so why is it so important that they take our last name though?
Because that's a tradition. I mean, fuck.
It's not even tradition.
It's more so the
That's because something's tradition though don't mean it's good.
It's not tradition. It's you become one when a man finds a wife. Ain't that right, Hant? When a man finds a wife, it's a good thing.
Nah, man, you are who your father is.
So you are who your father is.
Yeah, period. Like you have some remnants of your mom, but you are who your father is.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, even from our culture, you ever watch Troy or some shit like that?
Mm-hmm.
They say Achilles, son of Paleo, son of this man, son of that man.
Mm-hmm.
But you got one banner in your house. If you got a kingdom, how many flags you gonna put up?
Mm-hmm. I ain't putting no half a flag and half a flag. That's for goddamn sure.
Yeah. Like that shit's weird, bro. Like you are divided.
Yeah.
I feel like
you're under the banner of my protection. Like, how are we under the banner of your protection? You're not going downstairs and niggas is trying to rob the house. I am. Shut the fuck up. You're taking my name.
I think niggas be pussy though. I don't know. These niggas really going downstairs?
Do you have choice?
Like I like if you don't have no kids, right? Because that kids change. You'll risk everything for your kids. So that's not fair. Like I would never lose a fight in front of my daughters. I don't give a fuck who it is, Mike Tyson or not. Like I'm not losing that fight. That's stupid. But if it's just me and her, is niggas really like, babe, I'm gonna protect you? Niggas really like that?
I'm gonna protect mine. Period.
Yeah, I can only speak for myself.
Yeah, I'm most scary if I'm by myself. If I'm by myself, I'm a chill. Like I ain't about to do nothing extra. But if I got my girl or my kids, I got no choice. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna think twice about the shit. Like I remember when I was married, a bat flew in the house, right? So I had to get the shit out because my wife and kids was in there. If they wasn't in there, I would have dipped. Called the fucking people, y'all need to come try to get this shit out the crib. I'm gonna go get a room or go stay with a joint I know. So you got to.
Niggas be that was so one time, right? I was cleaning up or some shit, and my man's come running upstairs. Now, mind you, his kid hear all that. Yo, you got something in the basement? I'm like, what, nigga? So I go down there. It's a frog. So I grabbed the frog, right? I don't know. I'm not scared of shit like that, so it don't really matter. Like I grabbed the frog, and then I bring the frog upstairs. It's pretty big frog too, and I put it under like a glass bowl so the kids can look at it and shit. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, yo, get close, and I start sliding the bowl off so the frog can hop out. So his kid get close. He like, get back. Like, nigga. But he ain't step up either though. So that's why I always ask that question. Like, he was that scared of the frog. The kid, kids be like, cause I'm so comfortable. The kids got comfortable. He like, get back, don't touch it. Like, I'm like, nigga, come get the kid. You know,
that's hilarious.
I'm just wondering, man. I don't know. It's odd, man. Yeah, B, don't do it, bro. You see how tired? You see how tired Said and Adrian look?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at Eddie. Eddie was yelling at us in the chat earlier. Remember? He don't got no
Yeah.
kids. Where niggas at?
No kids, bruh.
Yeah, don't do
Word,
that.
word.
I like to eventually get there, but I'm still on a broad rotation.
People always want what they don't have too. So the reason why you even thinking about it is because you don't have none yet, yo.
Yeah.
Don't
No, it's not a deep thought. I just have a woman in mind. That's all I want right now. You know, baby steps.
There we go.
This might be risky. We here. All right. This might be risky. DJ Hampton Stampede inside the locker room. Put him in the. Oh, shit. I don't know where the fuck the button is. The hell with it. What's up, man? How y'all doing this morning? What up, B?
Wonderful.
Everything?
Wonderful.
Word. Said was good.
Another day above, baby. We here.
That's it. Adrian was popping.
Yo, what's good, my dude?
Eddie, what up, though?
Chilling, man. Coming off another successful chef event last night.
Yeah. What was it?
I was doing something called weekend wings. I had a couple wing flavors, garlic butter buns, and I had some jerk salmon on there. I kept it light, but you know, per usual. If I don't sell out, I usually sell about 90%. So
yeah, I don't want to get in your business, but generally on the average, what's the margin on food though?
shit with inflation, bruh. So let's say like if I spend doing my numbers yesterday, I got to readjust. I spent like 370 on food items and all that. I'll see like 600 back, 700 depending on and I do that a few times a week, so it works itself out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Bills paid, all that shit. So
yeah, and then how much time goes into that though?
That's where I have a chef fee, right? So people get turned off by the chef fee, but it's just like, nigga, you got a job. That job is paid for through labor, right?
Yeah.
Just like that's all it is. It's the hours I'm on my feet. You know what I mean? Like making sure that you have an excellent event, the food is amazing, all of that. Like you gotta pay for that. People think you just buy the food and make it. I was like, okay, what am I gonna get? Oh, I gotta pay you? Like, yeah, nigga.
Exactly.
Bruh.
People so stupid, bro.
Yeah, stupid, bro. Be like, what did you think? How this is gonna happen? Like, come on.
People do that all the time. It's so stupid. They say, "Yo, but if you come, the event's from 5 to 11, but you only got a DJ from 7 to 11." I said, if I gotta be there like that don't. And they say, and then you could just put a playlist on. No, nigga, because you're not looking for playlist work. You know what I'm saying?
I used to hire DJs all the time. I'm just like, let's say for DJs, man, I'll hit a DJ off for like between 3 to like 500, and I'll give you 75% of your money up front. So I'm not bullshitting about business. And I'm like, anything in between, it's like, yo, because I know you got to pay for gas, you got to travel over there, all of that shit. It's like, come on, you got to set up. I'm trying to play people, man. People be stupid, man.
Shit crazy, bro. Yeah, I know I don't have the best prices, but I got the best work. Y'all seen that on Instagram?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't have the best prices. Period.
The work speak for itself, though. Yeah.
Yep, that's a fact, though. All right, man. That's what's up, man. B, how you get into swimming, bro? I just wanted to ask you that.
How did I get?
Because you a big ass nigga. Do you float?
Yeah. So believe it or not, if the bigger you are, you're gonna float. So
hell no, bro. I don't float.
No, you don't float.
No.
So that's something you're not doing right. You're supposed there's a thing called buoyancy. You're supposed to float naturally. So if
I'm
you're
too
not
dense, though.
That's not natural for everybody. I'm a former lifeguard. That's not natural for everybody. You got to work on your equilibrium. That's something you learn.
It's balance, baby. Balance.
Yeah. I ain't never known for a big person to not float.
I'm dense, though. Maybe because I'm
you don't float just because you fat. That's a misconception. Nah.
Most
that's a wild
misconception. Float naturally.
Nah.
But if you don't float well, I mean, well, you're gonna drown maybe unless you.
He floats. He just don't understand the concept. The problem is when people get in the water, they panic and they don't relax. When you don't relax, that's what causes you to sink. Because that's why they call it a dead man float. When it's a dead body, it's floating because it's at a relaxed state, along with the air, of course. But it's at a relaxed state.
No,
Your ass is panicking.
I can swim. I can't float. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay.
Most of that buoyancy that B talking about is like around your back or your pelvis area. And if you literally just lift that, but like said, you relax, you're gonna fucking float. Like that's just how the body works. Yeah.
Oh, no, man.
That's how a lot of people drown because you're nervous. You're supposed to relax, turn over on your back and float.
I don't know, bro. I need to talk to Sir Isaac Newton because this shit ain't.
You trying too hard, brother. Your muscles in your back is locking up on you and everything else, man. Come on.
Hey, yo, so all those theories from a black man, just like the rest of them crackers.
Yo, so what if you got like a big upper body and real skinny legs?
That's me. You might be good.
Because I can't float. I can swim, but I can't float. My legs always go, and I'm like, there ain't enough meat on my calves, man. I be trying. As soon as I try, I gotta pop out.
Put him in the fucking bed. Get him out of here. Come on.
Word, man. So, all right, man. Let's get into it. So, Eddie generated this topic, so I kind of I want Eddie to give like the perspective and the why and what, you know what I mean. And I had a couple clips that I just want to show to see, you know, some of the foolishness that, you know, especially the black women in the black church. Fact, Eddie, you want me to share the clips first? Just a couple clips I found.
Yeah, let's do it.
Just of crazy shit that's happening in the church. You know what I'm saying? Hold on 1 second. So, y'all see my screen?
Of course.
Yeah.
So this Creflo Dollar, right? If he's not the biggest, he's probably top 5, right? So he is talking about tithing here. All right. He's talking about tithing here. And listen to what this guy says. So he's saying give the members a credit card or something, and then stick it in the slot to get through like turnstile, and then that music goes off that says welcome inside. Yeah, hear that shit?
That's crazy.
He said if they not tithing, shoot them all dead. So now look at this. He actually had some type of epiphany talking about he was wrong about tithing. This was like a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that the teachings that I've shared in times past on the subject of tithing were not correct. And today I stand in humility to correct some things that I've taught for years and believed for years, but could never understand it clearly because I had not yet been confronted with the gospel of grace, which has made the difference.
So he literally went back on all of that, and then finally, look at this church. So these are the members laying down. Just FYI, you go to pastor.
The Bible says support something.
Look at this shit.
He's to test to know whether you're ready for the ministry. He's not dead.
Oh my God.
He is not dead.
Is that one of them African churches?
Mm-hmm.
What is going on with the world?
Somewhere in Nigeria.
Wow.
And then hold on, one more. He's spanking everybody. That's easy to see. Hold on. Let me find this real quick. Y'all remember this?
Yeah.
Changing something and you don't see it clearly yet, but you hit.
Look at this shit. Y'all remember this?
This is where most people
Just some sick shit.
Would not face Jesus anymore. What most people would do is turn away.
Yeah, right.
Look at this nigga. He's sick, bro.
You better fucking not.
What I'm telling you,
I have
Dog.
what I'm telling you,
he's not about to
it's
do this.
just
Brad.
as he's physically standing here, knowing what's coming. God's saying, can you physically and spiritually and emotionally be able to stand? And getting the vision or receiving it might get nasty. I'm gonna say it in a point just like that. Receiving
That
vision
nigga,
from
he
God
hawk spit
might
in
get
his
nasty.
hand.
You mean, God, I just bought, in crazy faith, I just bought my dream car.
What freaking Bible
And
verse
now
is
you're
this?
gonna ask me to send it back
Nigga.
and ride in the hoopty again?
These are part of the reasons why I don't attend
the
them
vision I'm about
fucking
to give you,
buildings.
Oh, here
it
you
might
go.
get nasty.
Mm.
Oh, look at his lip. Oh my god.
And do you hear and see the responses of the people?
All right, that's
All right,
enough.
that's enough. Yeah, bro. Y'all go
Yeah, I
ahead.
can't watch the rest of that. I'm sorry. That shit was disgusting. God damn.
And that's a big dude. How the fuck he let that shit happen? Like he just sitting there taking it.
Nah, he
So
was
the key is, well, he volunteered to do that, obviously.
Yeah.
And he knew it was coming. That's why he was talking to himself before it came. But do you see just the sheep mentality, right? Just following, just allowing these pastors to do whatever. And I think Eddie wanted to point out very specifically the black, overly religious black woman, emphasis on the word religious. You know, in these black churches and their loyalty to their pastor. So Eddie, if you don't mind, expound on your thought.
Yeah, I'm trying to get past that clip. Yeah. So it was brought about by a combination of a few things. I give context. I grew up in a Catholic church, which to me is the worst of the world. But it's something where I'm from, Honduras, right? You know, prior to moving to the States. That's what it is. Latin America, like the Catholic Church has a profound hold on Latin America, right? So that's what I knew. That's where I come from. I guess upon learning, awakening, if you will, I saw what the system of church was, right? And what a lot of people, particularly our people, black folks, do not understand or refuse to understand, or they're under the complete religious trance and indoctrination, and they can't let it go, is that this is a complete system, right? This is a system of understanding that they utilize people's emotional state for it is the word fear is always used, right? Fear the Lord, fear God, this and that, right? So keeping you in a space where you're not necessarily thinking, right? And Hant might know, but I forget the verse. But essentially tells you, you know, not to question the Lord, just accept it as it is, right? I forget what the quote is, what the Bible verse is, right? You know, onto certain things, do not question the Lord or what have you. Just accept that things are as they are, right? Cool. What does that look like in the real world, in the logical world? It means that don't think for yourself. We're going to tell you what it is and just accept it, right? And then throw it in there, faith, throw in there, shame, throw in there, you know, you don't question the Lord, there's something wrong with you. All right, boom, give you that context, right? Now, the topic comes up from the fact that personally, I just consistently, bro, my relationships, I have consistently, and there's no other proponent or active population in the church more than black women, right? Particularly in our spaces, right? So what does that look like when you're talking about community activism? You're talking about educating our kids, right? Schools are almost 80% women. And then you're talking about relationships. It looks like consistently in my dating life, seeing amazing women come and go because I am not with religious institution, but I'm heavy on God. You know what I mean? I'm heavy on, moving forward with a personal relationship with God and not having a pastor that's going to spit in my fucking face or flog me in my back or, 20 years worth of telling people to send him money and now he feel like he's wrong. Like, the nigga's name is Creflo Dollar, first of all. Like, if that doesn't tell you not to go to this nigga's church, you're already tripping. But overall, to not take up too much time, I wanted to set the basis for the theme because, recently, like I'm putting out, this energy to one young lady who I've been, we've dated. She moved down south, but we still, chatted up here and there, not always as frequent. But she always told me she's heavy on this, on the church, and yada yada yada. And I recently, like, started talking to her again, and I put it out there. I was just like, this is a good opportunity to let her know, like, what it is. I'm like, yo, I've had these feelings for you for some time. We always have an excellent time together. We always have very critical conversations about anything else in the world, right? But when it came down to that, it was always problematic. So now I'm like, yo, this is what it is. But before I even say anything too heavy, are you in a space where you can provide um, love and all the things that come with a relationship to a man that's not necessarily religiously indoctrinated, and definitely don't want my kids to be that, but heavy on God, right? And having those critical conversations, going to those Bible studies and actually being the disruptive agent within certain things that are said, because as we saw in those clips, shit is inconsistent as hell. And most of these verses are profoundly antiquated, so they don't even apply to what we do now, how we live now, right? They're all parables.
This guy in the corner over here.
Right. And it's like, most of that stuff is just like, and let's say that, this brother Jesus does exist, right? He told y'all consistently, like, these are things that I kind of want you to consider. These are not things that I want you outright doing hardcore. But it's just like people skip over so much shit, and it's just like, yo, like, what makes you think that, the Bible says spit on your brother's face so he can be blessed and then go out and burn a lamb? My nigga, like, what? No, you don't. Nah, bro. You attempt to spit in my face, bro, we're both going to jail because I'm fuck you up. Like, but it's shit like that. It's just like, let me just provide, the context, but that's where the theme, was coming from.
Okay. Hey, let's welcome Chaotic Truth to the show. So I watched this brother. Y'all should definitely subscribe to his channel. This nigga's amazing. He should be a comedian. I don't know if he be joking sometimes or not, but
I've seen Chaotic before on the Lapeep Network.
Oh, nice.
Chaotic, good.
What's up? Tell me if my mic is too loud, guys. I can turn it down.
It's a little loud. Yeah.
Okay, hold on for a second. Let me make some adjustment real quick. Okay, what about now? Is it better?
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah, that's solid.
Okay. I salute to you guys, by the way. I wanted to join in on the topic. This is a great stream. Guys, I'm 37. Mm-hmm. I am not an old man, but I'm certainly not a young man. I've seen a lot in my life. I've seen a lot of debauchery, and I've been with a lot of women, like most black men have been. I've gotten a lot of coochie. Do you use certain words over here, sir? By the way, I don't want to
use every single word you want to use.
Okay, I've gotten a lot of coochie in my life. Now, I'm not saying that I'm a player. It's just it's just mathematics, right? So if you go to a PWI, a predominantly white institution, college, of course, if you have tens of thousands of women around, I mean, it's just a mathematical game at that point. Yeah. So nevertheless, me being in a fraternity, me going to a white college, me living in a big city after college, I got a lot of facetious blowjobs from chicks, and I could tell you this, man. I could tell you this. Even though people may say that the Bible is antiquated, even though people may say that the church is dying, one thing I can say now as an older man is that a woman who is heavily involved in Christianity is a keeper. Now, hear me out. You can be a Muslim, you can be an atheist, you can be a Buddhist. Christianity teaches women to be modest. Now, is it perfect? Probably not. But I've noticed in my life the most Christian-esque girls that I've dated were the ones who were modest, were the ones who were polite, were the ones who, instead of going to the club, instead of drinking, they would be in the church. Now, when I was a kid growing up, my dad didn't go to church with us, but my mom, she pretty much kidnapped us every damn day to go to something in church, whether it was choir rehearsal, Bible study. I even told my mom one time, Mom, you know what? I just want to go to hell because I don't want to go to church. But now that I'm older, I can respect the fact that, wow, my mom was a very modest woman, and it was her Christian beliefs that kept her, in my opinion, out of the club, even though I don't think women back then it wasn't really a club culture back then in the 90s compared to now. But my mom was a church woman. And now that I've gotten older, I appreciate that fact. I appreciate the fact that my mom was in the house on Sunday night or Saturday night. It's Friday night instead of shaking her ass like a lot of these women do, especially black women. You already know black women are out. And even though, again, the Bible may be antiquated to some, there's nothing worse than a woman who has tattoos. There's nothing worse than a woman who drinks. There's nothing worse than a woman who has raptor claws as fingernails. And the Bible actually talks about these things. And when you read the Bible, it's like, wow, man, you know what? I tried to ignore the biblical teachings. I tried to be rebellious, but now I see it for what it is. It is shameful. It is a very shameful culture that we live in now, where promiscuity and whoredom is promoted, whether it's through social media, Instagram, etc. But if anybody's young out there listening to this, you want your woman to be in church. You want your woman to be in church on Thursday night for Bible study, Friday night for choir rehearsal. You want her to be in church instead of on the streets whoring. Now,
Thursday night football, baby.
Yeah. Now, before I address the woman in the chat, the woman in the chat said the biggest whores are in church. Now, this woman obviously does not like what I'm saying. And obviously, instead of being a church lady, she's a club lady.
Oh, shit.
And the unfortunate thing about this is that a lot of women today will defend the club lady over the church lady. Now, whether the church lady is a whore or not, the church lady typically did a good job at hiding her whoreness. Whereas the club lady, she just flaunts it around. See, there was a time, guys, I'm a little bit older than a lot of you guys, but there was a time, guys, in the 90s. And I don't know if any of you guys are from the Midwest, but what I'm about to say is a Midwestern term. Mm-hmm. The women that we see as Instagram models and as porn stars today, and I'm sorry, the Instagram models, the OnlyFans. See, there was a time in the 90s, these women would be referred to as strawberries. See, we used to shame these women back in the 90s. And the 90s wasn't that far. That was just 30 years ago. But I remember as a kid, if you shook your ass as a woman, a lot of women, even black women would shame you. Honey, you shouldn't be doing that in public. If you want to do that in the confines of your own home. And that was the difference. So yes, to the lady in the chat, maybe you are right. Maybe there are whores in church, but a lot of those church ladies, they dress modestly, and they don't degrade society by putting that on social media, and that's the difference. And I really believe that black culture was better back in the day, especially black American culture. You know, a lot of you guys, I don't know if you guys are foundational black Americans, but I go to my foundational black American friends' homes, and they have what they used to call photo albums. Do you guys remember those things? Photo albums. If you open up photo albums, you can see their aunts, you can see their grandmothers, you can see older black Negro women from back in the day. In those pictures, they're not dressed like whores. They're not shaking their asses. They're not doing that. They took photos back then. They could have easily shook their ass. They could have easily said, here, take a photo of me with my ass out. But they didn't, because they at least had a sense of decorum. They at least wanted to, if they were whores, they at least wanted to present themselves forever as a modest woman. But see, women now, they'll take a photo with their 6-year-old daughter with their ass out. They'll even have their own daughter. Come on, little girl, put your ass out too, bitch. See,
I like this guy. I like this guy.
I'm going to bring it home too. And thank you guys. Normally I get cut off a lot on panels, and I'm going to bring it home. See,
we're gonna let you spin so we can get all your info before we, all that nonsense you talking about. Go.
There was a time, guys, where women
chaotic. Turn down the mic just a little bit.
Oh, okay. Let me back away from it. What about now?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Talk. I
can see. Now? Is that better?
Think so. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, there was a time, guys, when the mom weren't friends with the daughters. See, we have a lot of that dumb stuff going too. Is the mic cool now?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. See, there was a time when the mom wasn't friends with the daughters. There was a time when the grandmas weren't friends with the mom. See, we need to get back to those ancient traditions because there are some traditions that were good, and particularly in the African American community. But now we have again a woman in the chat. She's upset at what I'm saying because she wants to be essentially a Jezebel. She wants to go at 40 years old and dance and shake her ass. Wow. But at 40 years old, you shouldn't be anywhere near a club as a woman, especially as a woman. Truth be told, the clubs are for college kids, in my opinion. But see, now we have women who want to be 40, 50 at the clubs, and it's shameful. It's absolutely shameful. And in my opinion, these are women that need to be avoided. And if you are a man, you are putting yourself at great risk by being with these Jezebel harlots. Get you a church lady, even if, and mind you want one who is super religious at this point, especially in this nasty day and age we live in. But guys, I'm going to remain on the panel if that's cool and listen to you guys or answer any questions. Salute to you guys.
Yeah.
You definitely stay around. Don't go nowhere.
Chaotic. We are. Just so you know, like I'm 36, so we the same age.
Yeah.
Adrian, Eddie, and said what? A couple years older. Said
I'm 42 this year.
Okay.
Yeah, I got you, boy. I got you.
Okay. So, you said you wanted to address some of what Chaotic said. Go ahead.
Well, we're gonna start off with this nonsense about being in a club or partying and all that. There's shouldn't be no issue with that. Number one, for having fun doesn't determine how you're going to raise your kids or raise your family. You know what I mean? I know Hamp DJs. So Hamp out there DJing in that lifestyle, in that people, he's going to come across women, and they're women our age, y'all age, a little bit younger, that are out there partying and having fun and enjoying themselves. What was the name of that club? It was in DC, the Chateau, where the old folks go. They doing their hand dancing, they dancing and they having fun. And we talking about 50, 60 and up year old women enjoying themselves. So someone enjoying themselves and having fun, I can't say that makes them any better or any worse when it comes to raising their kids or being a good mother, wife, or a guy being a husband. So we'll start with that aspect of it. But as far as what I think that was Aisha that said something in the chat. Yeah. As far as she's saying about whores in the church, I went to a school called Riverdale Baptist High School. It goes from elementary school all the way up to 12th grade. And let me tell you, some of the most freakiest and whorish activity I've ever seen in my life came in that school. So to say that church, and we had let's say we had to go to whatever it was called. Every Wednesday, Thursday, we had to go to service, and then I was in the gospel choir and all that good stuff way back when. So when she said some of the most whorish women are in church, some of the most whorish men and women go to church because they feel like if they go inside that building, it makes up for all the shit they did throughout the week. So to say that they are in there and that's where you should find a wife or even a husband, it's all garbage to me at this point in life. Because I mean, I grew up in it. I've been there. I've seen it all. And as you can see with these pastors and everything now, they're just accepting of everything from the LGBTQ in the church to anything. So to say anything about going inside that building is what it's supposed to be, nah, I can't go with that. not at all. We're gonna start there. I'm gonna let some other folks go on, and because I know we're on time. But yeah,
well, because I ain't in a rush today. It's Sunday.
Okay, well then we cool.
So, question though. I mean, chaotic. I just want to give chaotic an opportunity to respond. Said, if you don't mind.
That's fine. You know me. I'm here all day.
Indeed.
Until I got to come to your house. But go
ahead. And please let me know if my mic is too loud.
No, you're fine.
Yeah. Okay.
You're good now.
There's a great, and I'm going to try to use this analogy, and I'm trying to say it the right way. It just came on top of my head. There's a great fighter. I believe that he is the greatest fighter of all time. Legendary fighter. His name is Floyd Mayweather.
Oh shit.
Floyd was asked about a great fighter named Manny Pacquiao, and he said, "I'm not worried about Pacquiao because there are." What did he say? If I'm not mistaken, he says, because there's 5 ways to beat him, there's no ways to beat me, meaning that the losses that he accrued over his boxing career in terms of Pacquiao had 5 losses, right? So I'm gonna try to say this the way. Now, you said that there are women in church who are whores, and you gave experiences from growing up. Now, again, I agree with you, but here goes the thing: every woman at the club is a whore. Every woman at the club is a whore. At least at the church, there's an expectation that some of them are not. At least at the church, there's an expectation that some of them at least want to be modest. There is no modesty.
What club are you going to, bro?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
What are you talking about? That every woman at the club is a whore?
Big said. See, this is what you did. And I like the way you did it. See, you mentioned some little specialty club for old folks. I understand that, but sir, you and I both know the clubs that we're talking about. Let's stop pretending. Hear me out for a minute. Hear me out.
Listen, ho. Before you continue, I'm gonna let you continue. But if we're gonna talk about clubs and what I know, I did security majority of my life. So from like 17 up until maybe like 22, I was bouncing, doing security, personal security for quote unquote pimps and strippers and so forth and so on. Some of the biggest strippers I've seen in my life would be in church on Sunday. So again, the concept that you're saying is it's not adding up.
Again, sir, I am not disagreeing with you. However, what I am saying is that the club is a cesspool of ignorance. It's a cesspool of drinking. It is a cesspool. Now, you say it's going out having fun. Fine, I'll give you that. But, sir, let's be honest, and I'm going to get deep with you guys. If we look at the best cultures on the planet, I'm going to say the Jewish culture, you don't have Jewish women in the club en masse on the weekends shaking their asses. It's because their faith in their religion forbids such things. Now, are there Jewish whores? Possibly so. I would assume that it is. I mean, I follow a Jewish porn star on Pornhub. I'm not going to say her name. Here goes the thing, sir.
Oh, that boy, wow.
Here goes the thing, sir. If you look at cultures on the planet, if you look at the most undressed cultures on the planet, they are the most uncivilized, particularly a lot of cultures in Southeast Asia, particularly a lot of cultures in Africa where the people, listen, there are cultures in Africa right now, and it's not a lot of them, but there are still tribal groups that walk around naked with plates in their lips. Look at how uncivilized they are. Now, hear me out. I'm about to bring this home. Just follow me. The more dressed, the more modest a culture, the better the culture. When people are dressed, they typically are dressed because it implies that you can work, that you can build. If you don't do those things, then you are promoting sex, you are promoting laziness. And what happens with laziness is that people sit around and they have nothing to do, so they have sex. That's why a lot of those primitive cultures, they have a lot of children. Sir, look at the Jewish culture. They are dressed from head to toe, the women, and look at their birth rates. They don't have a lot of children, but they are married and their culture is better. And it could
I'll disagree with that.
Well, that's fine, but hear me out. That's fine. Just hit me up for a minute.
Hey, chaotic.
Where these numbers coming from that he's
go ahead.
Hold on. Chaotic, real quick. Is there any way you could cam up? I feel like it's a better experience. You naked or something?
Yeah, well, not that. It's just I'm not in a position to cam up now, unfortunately.
All right, no doubt. Go ahead.
But and I will the next time. But see, what I'm saying is, sir, is that drinking is dangerous, right? There's nothing worse than a drunk woman. There is a liability with women being drunk, especially if you are a man. So many men are in the penitentiary because they were drinking with a woman, and the woman lied the next day and said she did something to me. You as a man, you should never be around a drunk woman that you don't know. That's why the club is a very bad place. Why not be at least in the church where at least everybody's pretending, where there's no alcohol? Why not? Why not be in a position where you are around women who are dressed modestly so you won't be accused of sexual harassment? So you said that you worked in security, sir, in the clubs. How many times did you see some woman falsely accuse a man of harassment or doing something to her? Now, mind you, the bitch is dressed half naked, but she's accusing a man of doing something sexually to her. See, this is the evilness and the wickedness of living in these Western systems, even though I love living in the West, but this is the wickedness of this country. The fact is that you have women who can flaunt around half naked, and the moment you may glance at them, they can accuse you of something, harassment. He's doing this to me. So what I'm saying is that the woman that is religious, at least she is, if she's not truly faithful to her faith, at least she's at least pretending to be. That's the difference. Listen, I don't like being around whores anymore. Well, I watch Pornhub, but I don't like being around whores. I don't like being at the club with drunk women, especially drunk black women. They're dangerous. They're physically dangerous. They're emotionally dangerous, and they will set you up and they will lie on you. So that is why I say, in my opinion, look, yeah, there might be whores in the church, but at least the church is a place where it's a constant reminder for you to change your whorish behavior, both men and women. Go ahead, sir. If that makes any sense, go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead, Eddie.
Yeah, I was saying I was disagreeing with the cultural piece. I'll never put a Jew on top of anything as far as culture is concerned. But the one thing that they do give credence to is their business acumen and the way in which they consistently overtake or they manage large institutions that a lot of us partake in. I'll give them that for sure. They tend to be at the forefront of that. But in terms of the comment you made around Black culture or African culture, and you mentioned the culture which is largely in Kenya, I believe, where they wear the platelets and whatnot and they're nude, it doesn't immediately suggest, because the way in which you framed it almost makes it seem as if it's coming from, and you may or may not be saying that from a white supremacist lens, where it's just like you just assume because they're in the nude or their particular ways in which they have children that they're over sexualized. That's not the case, right? But I agree for the most part of what you said in regards to what that looks like here in America in most westernized society. So I'm glad that you brought it back around. But just those pieces that you mentioned, I disagree with, because it suggests, and that's something that white people have always thought about us, is that because we're nude or because, we're okay with our bodies, or we were before body shaming became this stupid ass legitimate thing now. That we're just sexual just based off of that, but that's not the case if you actually have a historical lens of what that looks like. But the rest of the stuff, man, yeah, we talk about horror culture here all the time, and it's like, man, you can't. People do, society allows it, but the level of whoredom that goes on, and I call it as it is because all of a sudden you could do horror shit, and in the midst of doing so, oh, don't slut shame me. It's just like, I'm 35, bro. Like, when I grew up, being a slut was not a cool thing. It still isn't. But now it's just like, oh, don't shame me for being this way. Like, that shit is crazy. And it's largely something that people transition into the church, into their religiosity, into their, oh, I love Jesus, but it's just like you twerking at a brunch table and you ain't got no panties on, and it's on Instagram, and it's like, and you going to church after that, or you just came from church going to the brunch, and I'm supposed to take you seriously as a man, right? Is this idea that men are just supposed to outright accept women no matter what, but don't you be a man with standards, and now it's an issue.
So
question, real quick. So, but when he made the statement, there was like an outcry of like he was saying bullshit when he said that the club is full of whores and then the church is not. And then because you can assume at the club they're there for a reason, and there's an assumption when you go to church you're there for a reason. So was he wrong?
I would say that the one piece that kind of makes it a little flawed is that both of those people live in exact both of those spaces. Like I just mentioned, right? Like you'll
But
get a
when you go
collection
to
of
that
people.
space, Eddie, though, but when you go to that space, right? Is there
Yeah,
a difference when you go into that space? When you see those women in the club,
yeah.
and then when you see those women at church, though, do you think it's a better environment to find a woman in the church or to find a woman in the club if you had to pick one?
If I had to pick one, I would assume, like this is the only I'll use the word assumption. I would assume that I'm not getting whore culture in the church. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's 6 men on this panel. We all know that's not the case. So
And he said that so because B cried out too when he said that. So was his statement unfair when you really
Yes.
break it down?
But because what was that pastor that just had something where he posted about the women coming in? It might have been the guy, the bald head, heavyset guy that everybody loves. Can't remember his name.
TD
TD Jakes. Yeah, TD Jakes, that guy. And he said something about women coming in dressed like whores in the church or dressed in a certain way, but the church has allowed it. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. If you're going to find a good person, you're going to find a good person, whether they're in church or not. Some of the best people might not go to church or go to a club. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, that's my thing. But you can't define what you're going to find in either platform.
Okay. Go ahead, Chaotic. I know you're about to respond.
I can't quite recall what I was about to say. It'll come to me again. Oh damn, what was I about to say? It'll come back to me. I'll wait. Go ahead.
My bad.
No, you good.
And so when he's referring to the Jewish culture, it's the same Bible. The Torah is what the Jews and the Tanakh is what
Testament.
They refer to that. And in the Old Testament, Isaiah 3, Proverbs 7, it says there's literally an attire of a harlot.
I remember what I wanted to say.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I know people are gonna start cutting me off with this one. Just prepare yourself, guys. This is just my opinion. This is what I believe. We're apes. According to science, we are a part of the great ape family. Just like a gorilla, just like a chimpanzee, like a bonobo, an orangutan. Hell, some of us even look. Shaq looks like an ape to me. So here goes.
God damn.
Now here goes.
Wow.
This guy real spicy.
I can't let you attack my frat brother like that, bro. Hold on now.
Now wait a minute. Now here goes the thing. We're apes. We are animals, and we are an advanced animal. You know, we are the most superior animal on the planet. We dominate. We dominate on all corners of the planet, all continents. We're able to create industry. We're able to create infrastructure. We created governments and laws, which no other animal has ever done. The elephant is the closest animal in terms of, you know, they have a mourning ritual where they mourn the dead. But to be honest with you, that is a very, very, very primitive form of mourning. But in respect to the elephant, I know that sounds funny, but the reason why I'm saying these things is this. Even though we have created space travel, space stations, computers, etc., we are still animals. And animals are here primarily just to eat and have sex and breed. when we look at women, when we look at legs, when we look at hair, when we look at a booty, or I'm a tit man, I love tits. These things are sexually arousing, and there's nothing wrong with that. But to create these industries, to build, we have to be focused. And these industries are leading us to the next stage of societal evolution. We can't get to these stages if we're distracted by women who are dressed half ass naked. That's why a lot of women weren't allowed in the workplaces a lot, because men would get distracted. It lowers productivity. Now, these are just my opinions now, guys. You don't have to believe me. Okay. But it lowers productivity. If I'm working somewhere, don't get me wrong. Like, I know we were all young. When you working somewhere, you're like, man, I wish a bad bitch worked with me. When you get older, especially if you have a business, because I have a couple of businesses now, I would prefer to hire an ugly old woman who's in her 70s, who's been married for 50 years with grandkids, than to hire a 23-year-old Shaniqua who's 5'8", who has a beautiful body, because I know that I may be tempted. I know that my ape urges compel me to breed. There's nothing wrong with that. So the idea of the church lady, the idea of modesty, is to dress or cover up animal behavior, or it's to cover up what makes us animals. So yes, the Arab figured it out thousands of years ago. The Arab said, we got to start covering these bitches up, because we are distracted as men. We don't have self-control. We haven't evolved to a higher level yet. So at least if you cover them up, the idea of being sexually aroused goes out the window. And this is why I always say that maybe being a church lady is good for society. It might be good for us. Listen, how many times have you listen? I was with my best friend a few years ago. I never forget this. We were running. Me and her were running, and she has a relatively nice body. This black dude got into a car accident because he's staring at her while the Negro's driving, hit another car. Now, of course, it was like 15 miles an hour. But think about that for a minute. His day is ruined because he cannot get over his monkey instinct to breed. He looking at, oh, look at that bad bitch. Come on, and crash the damn car. How many times have this happened before? How many times has a man done something and it's over sex? So maybe covering the body, maybe not drinking. Listen, you be with a woman. Listen, how many times, guys, and be honest, guys, because we've all done this, especially you, Chef Eddie. You said you went to college, right? You were Q, right? How many times have you had sex with a mud duck because you're drunk? I know I have. I've had sex with girls who look like Precious. I don't want to admit this, but I had, because I was started to look like Naomi Campbell. And so this is the problem. We are still animals. And I know a lot of people don't want to admit it, but at least, but I will admit it. I am still an animal. And the reason why I don't like being drunk around women, especially like that, is because, again, the Precious will turn into the Naomi Campbell, because my monkey brain is telling me to breed. And the more intoxicated I get, it causes a chemical reaction that allows me to lose my inhibitions. And my brain is saying, yes, he can breed. That's what he's here for. He's a monkey. So, and that's what happens. Admit it, guys. You had sex with mud ducks because you're drunk. You walked down the street and you were with your girl and you looked at another chick and then your girl got mad. It's not because you want to cheat. It's because your monkey brain is compelling you to breed constantly. So that's why it is good for women to dress modestly and be in the church or be in the mosque or somewhere where the institution is telling them to be modest themselves. Guys, does this make any sense? Keep it real.
I wouldn't say the monkey part is accurate. Only our friends from the Caucasus Mountains have the rhesus monkey gene, which immediately and directly attaches them to primates. Yes, so sir. As far as Black people are concerned, we are not monkeys in that sense at all, in any shape or form. Now, in terms of the animalistic behavior, yeah, I fully agree with that. Like, in terms of, what we do on a day-to-day basis, we're a little more sophisticated about it as far as human beings. But in terms of just like our nature, yeah, it's to fucking survive. Yeah.
Now, Chef Eddie, real quick, this is going to be way off the subject. You said that you were a Q, and I want to tell you, sir, as an alpha, I will admit this all day. The Qs have the best Negro hymns. I used to wear designer jeans. My gold boots is all
Put him
I
in the fucking
need.
bed. Get him out of here. Come on. Put him in the fucking bed. Come on. Put him in the
It
fucking
makes
bed.
sense
Get him
now.
out of
See,
here.
Man, those some great damn Negro
I
hymns.
can see why your connection to being a monkey. You're an alpha. That just makes sense.
Yeah. But salute to you, sir.
Oh man, that's interesting. B, what's your thoughts?
Wow. I really don't have any.
Are you fucking kidding me?
You don't have any?
You? Damn. You always got something to say.
No, I'm just listening to all the comments, and I mean, I think it's great what Chaotic is saying. I think it's great what Sid is saying. I think it's great what Chef Eddie is saying.
So how do you feel about women in the church though? Do you think they should be in the church? I've heard you refer to the Bible a couple of times with homosexuality and things of that nature. So what are your thoughts on it?
In terms of women being in the church, I mean,
see, this is a little bit of an issue, right? Because remember when we had the homosexuality topic, they were saying, why do people only pinpoint the Bible when it comes to homosexuality? Right? They were saying people are so big on pushing against homosexuality, but then other topics in the Bible, people don't really have much to say on. But it's still sinful and unlawful and non-biblical behavior. So why is your thought stream not there for this?
wow, I guess I never really thought of it from that perspective. Why we shame and bash homosexuality in the church. What's so funny? You all right? But why we don't pinpoint other issues. I just said that when we were talking about that topic about homosexuality, I just thought it was sinful, but I didn't say let's not have them in the church. I mean, if they want to go to church and whatever, cool. I mean, I don't have an issue with that, but that still doesn't take away from the sinful act. Now, if we want to talk about other issues in the church, cool, I'm down for that as well. And a woman being a whore in the church, I mean, that's what I mean. If she's a whore in the church, then she's a whore in the church. I mean, I mean, let the bitch be a whore in the church. Yeah.
You see, the thing about that is that at least the church is a constant reminder of her whoreness. At least that will be a constant reminder of her to change.
But is that reminder effective though? Because
it may not be effective, but the club will never see. The thing is, I got to use that Floyd factor. It will never be effective. The club factor will never be effective. See, at least the church will be a constant reminder of her to be modest, even if she's a whore, even if she doesn't change herself. But I can tell you this: I don't think people have ever been at the club and said, "You know what? I'm going to change my life." I just don't see that happening at the club for some reason. I don't see that happening at the strip club. You know, I just don't. And I feel like a student, a person who wants to learn math, I don't think that he's going to be at the club like, damn, man, you know what? I want to be a mathematician. I think that actually being in the institution itself, you know what? I've been a bad student for years. You know what? Maybe I'm going to hone down and study. At least I'm in the institution itself. But that's just my theory on it, though. I don't know. I could be wrong, guys. I'm just a monkey on YouTube talking. I don't know.
That's stupid, man. But the ultimate paradigm was whether or not the over religious woman is problematic, right? So like, yeah, okay, so we have this, nature of ourselves and being whores and all the other shit, right? And it applies to men as well.
Yes.
But ultimately it's more so just like it's the woman who is providing an excess layer of Bible verses. Everything has to be immediate related to God. There's absolutely nothing that can happen without institutionalized, indoctrinated thinking being a part of the conversation. Even if you're just chilling at the house, Netflix and chilling it up, she's gonna bring up something. It's just like everything that she does is based on that. And that's more so, where we wanted to drive the conversation.
Do you have children, Eddie?
No.
Okay, I don't either. But remember when you were a child, you may have went to your dad or your mom and you said, "Mom, Dad, I want to be a turtle today. I want to be Batman today." And your parents just looked at you and smiled. See, you have to do that with women. So a woman talking about the church all the time, you have to treat it like what she is, as a child almost. Women are dingbats. And there's nothing wrong with that. They, you know, they haven't evolved to be like men. You know, men are here for we are the responsible gender. And you know, again, I dated a overly religious woman in college, and all she did was listen to gospel music and talk about God. But I would have rather her done that than to listen to Cardi B and talk about sex and talk about debauchery all the time as well. You have a lot of women who talk about nonsense all day, talk about Real Housewives with you all the time. Yep. Baby, did you see that on Real Housewives? Or, you know, the dumb shit. So I would rather a woman say something about a Bible verse than to talk about the sinful nature of what is taking place in this country. So yeah, I mean, again, you know, to each his own, man. But you know, I've gone to appreciate the overly religious woman, just like I've gone to appreciate the white Karen. These women are very much needed in our society.
Whoa, the white Karen is needed.
Karens are needed.
Do you want to know why the white Karen is needed?
Why the fuck is Karen needed?
You want to know why the white Karen is needed, sir?
I want to know why you think that.
Okay.
Well, hold on, chaotic. So don't fucking forget this time, okay? Hold it.
The white Karen, I won't forget.
All right. Now, do you guys? How about that point he just made where he's saying, if she's talking about church, right, rather than talking about some of this other shit, wouldn't that be preferable than some of the shit that these bitches talk about now on a daily basis?
It depends. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, if you just in a vacuum, right? If a woman is saying, I love God, this, that, and the third, she listen to gospel music as opposed to such and such, some of these derogatory things, would you take that? Because you got to take some good with the bad. Everybody,
I understand the point.
I would. Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to ask that question.
I agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, but you got to take the good with the bad with everything, though. You know what I'm saying? It can't be just one dynamic that you're accepting the good with the bad. You know what I mean? Like, you got to have diversify your portfolio and more than in life than just one subject. You know what I mean? And that's just what it is. You got to bring more to the table than just overly religious or just watching or Netflix and chilling or whatever. It's about versatility. You know what I'm saying? About what you bring to the table. You know what I'm saying? How many tools do you have in your tool bag? You know what I mean? If you just coming from one angle, then you just one-sided on one subject. You know what I mean?
So, but I think just like children, right? Women especially kind of have like one thing. Like if you date a woman that's an attorney, her brain is working like that all the time.
Exactly.
So I think sometimes we focus on the religious aspect because they're like, oh, the Bible, I don't talk about that, because everybody thinks it's interpretation. So people think they can disregard what some of these religious people are saying when if they're coming out the Bible, you probably need to take heed to it because what you're saying probably isn't even in there. And that's the problem with all these churches. Can somebody wake Adrian the fuck? Adrian, you good?
I wanted to broach just like the church lady is wanted and needed in society, so is the white Karen. Now hear me out. Hear me out. I'll give you an example, then I'll go into it if you guys will allow me.
Go ahead.
Where I live in Cleveland, Ohio, and there is a street called Lakeshore. Obviously, it's right off the lake. There are many streets that lead to the lake, but they are dead end streets. So you on the street, and if you're on the street, you can actually walk to the lake. I was me and my buddy, we created a property preservation company many years ago, and we were looking at a house, and I had went back to the house for a specific reason. I'm driving down the street, and the speed limit on the street is 15 miles an hour. I may have been going 25. I turn around, do a loop, and who do I see in the middle of the street with their arm extended out? A white woman, basically telling me to stop. So I stopped the car. She said, excuse me, sir, you know, this is 15 miles an hour. You know, there's children on the street. And I said, ma'am, I apologize, and I won't speed again. Now, I'm going to tell you why the white Karen is needed. I've been in neighborhoods where Negroes, especially, their Hellcats, will go 80 miles an hour down a residential street. Total disregard of civility. Total disregard of anybody's children.
Oh,
Total disregard.
You tend to go to the extreme, chaotic with everything, right? Like everything that you say is to the extreme when it comes to us and anything. Everything is to the. I don't know if that's like your thing.
I knew
everything is to the far right.
I give white people smoke too, sir. But just hear me
out.
Let them finish.
Hear
me out. Hear me out.
The Negroes and the Hellcat.
So here goes the thing, sir. Take a park, for example. Take a park that has a no dog law or a dog. You can't have any dogs in the park. You see, a lot of people will bring a dog to the park, and then maybe a Karen will say, you know what? I'm going to say something to that guy because that dog will lead to a prostitute blowing somebody in the parking lot. And I'm going to tell you why. A person will bring a dog to the no dog park. Then that same person will say, well, shit. They don't say nothing about me bringing a dog here. Shit, I could smoke some weed over here. Shit, anybody gonna say nothing? Then you start smoking weed over there. Then the people start smoking weed will say, shit, we can smoke weed over here. We can start bringing prostitutes over here. Then the next thing you know, you have needles in the park. You have beer bottles in the park. And now you have whores smoking pole or sucking cock at 6 a.m. in a once nice, beautiful park. See, the Karen knows all this. See, the Karen thinks about the future. And so to prevent all these things from happening, she goes right to the source. She says, sir, you cannot have that dog here. She looks at the bigger picture. And so the Karen wants law and order. She is not a law enforcement officer, but she wants law and order because she knows that a community, a park, wherever can lead to social decay if you don't stop the little things. And I agree with the Karen. We need more Karens in our society. Listen, guys, I've seen neighborhoods in my life, my own life, 37 years, destroyed because you allow people to litter. Next thing you know, you allow people to have open shootouts, and then the community goes into disarray. The Karen needs to say, you know what? We don't want this littering here. Excuse me, sir. I'm going to call the police the next time you litter. See, that right there in itself will prevent a community from looking like a third world country. So again, the Karen prevents a lot of debauchery down the line in the future. Go ahead, guys. You got the floor.
But K.I., don't you think that in the past, from what we've seen with the Karens, you know, Indianapolis and Seattle and Central Park, that they've done more harm than good?
No, they've done actually good, sir. Generally, in all those cases, the people are doing something that is illegal. Now, it may not be an egregious crime, but again, sir, the Karen wants to prevent any type of future decay, and that is what makes the white Karen a beautiful white woman, in my eyes, at least. Go ahead, sir. You got the floor.
I would completely dismiss that because all you said was that you want to see responsible community people, right? That does not come in the shell of a Karen. Like you're giving the extreme example of a Karen, but most of the Karen examples are outrageously psychopathic white women, and we don't need more of those bitches anywhere, right? But I get the point which you're making is just you want to see responsible, neighborhood oriented and community, respectable people. I fully agree with that, but that doesn't have to come in the shell of a white bitch. Like, nah.
I think not only that, when you look at the subject that he brought up about parks and animals, it's a lot of mostly Karens and them of that nature that are kissing their dogs in the mouth and bringing their dogs to the park, no matter what anybody say, because it's not a pet, it's a family member. This is my son, daughter, which I mean has transitioned to our culture, obviously. However, it started off with them and how they do their pets and their animals and how they relate to it. So again, current situation, it don't make sense. Like I said, a good person is going to be a good person. Somebody that wants something good in their neighborhood. And in my neighborhood, if I see somebody doing something wrong, I'm going to say something. That don't make me no Karen. That don't make me shit. Except for a person that owns property in this neighborhood that wants my shit to go in the right direction.
But sir, everybody doesn't have the luxury of being 6'3" and 250 pounds like you, sir. I mean, you hit the genetic lottery, sir. Yeah, and so a lot of people are afraid to say things, sir. So we need
to let them things drop then and be man or women about it. We can. That's an excuse at this point.
Well, Well, guys,
you making a lot of excuses and going far left and far right. I keep telling you.
Well,
like
let me ask
everything is to the extreme.
Let me ask a question though. On that though, have we proven that we step out there and say things, or has the stop snitching rule been applied to civilians and civilians refuse to tell on people that are harming their community in our communities?
Again, it's the whole thing with being afraid, and
it depends. I guess it depends on where you are.
Well, because we haven't proven that, right? Though we haven't proven that we have like a community cleanup where people pick up trash. We got trash all over our communities. We don't tell on people who are fucking destroying our communities. Like, so how have we proven that we have Karens in our communities?
You always had them older, you know what I'm saying, women for the most part, and some men that say something. And when you think about the communities that you're talking about, you know what I mean, like the neighborhoods that are the apartments, row homes, and stuff like that, where the old women used to sit out on the porch. You know what I'm saying? You have a few left, but it doesn't change the concept overall. It's not about a specific quote unquote Karen or older white woman or anyone telling. It's about good people doing what's right to help build their community, wherever their community is. Yeah. And that's just what it boils down to with me.
Okay. Yeah, I just think just considering the point, because initially it'll bait you to just be like, nah, this is bullshit. But how many people do we have in our communities that really do these things? Right? Because if nobody's saying anything, things do tend to get worse and worse. Let's welcome Frank to the show.
What up, Frank?
Frank, what's good?
Hey,
Frank got the I got kidnapped background.
Yeah, Frank.
Y'all can hear me okay?
Yeah,
we can hear you.
Okay. I mean, thanks, Sid, for when it comes to religion, man, I love it. I have a zeal to talk about it. And I wanted to get on the show because I think some of the questions that y'all went over were kind of simple. One of them being, because I came in late, I know you guys been talking about quite a few different things. One of them being why, people, point out being gay over other sins, and there's other sins, they all lead to death. I think that's a simple answer from my perspective. Why we pointed out, because the world doesn't look at gay as a sin anymore. Period. It's actually being celebrated and pushed. Even in the cartoons now, Disney is saying we got to have one gay character. So it's not even being every other sin is actually known to be a sin. You might you might have sex with multiple women. We all know it's a sin if you're married, right? So we're being gay. They like love your son, love your daughter, despite of being gay. It's okay to be gay. Let me put a transgender bathroom in the elementary school. It's being forced to be accepted. So that's why you'll see a lot of religious people that try to follow God's law, push back against it because it's being pushed on us. So I think that's an easy reason why, that is a issue, growing issue actually. So that I just wanted to say that part. Also, I wanted to talk about, I heard my man say we're monkeys, and he's right. I mean, in the beginning, God created the animals out of the dust of the earth, just like he created man. And we all have flesh. We all have feelings. The difference between us is not just that we evolve, but our spirit. For God breathed a spirit in us in his own image. So that's why we're highly more intelligent, why we have dominion over the earth. But yes, we're going to feel, God gave a command for us to reproduce, to multiply, be fruitful and multiply. So he made sex pleasurable for us, so we can't ignore the spiritual part. Even though we're born of the earth, just like everything else on the earth. I mean, the earth was made for the animals and the man. we can't deny the spirit of God. And I think that is something that we don't move according to. We move according to our flesh. But there are a few of us that move according to our spirit. There's a few of us, very few, because that's getting got away from us. That's going to see a beautiful naked woman and feel shameful, not going to lust for her. We're going to know that something's mentally wrong. You know, there's a few of us that aren't going to really can't even like a woman until we meet and talk to them. Just a very few. I've been on both sides. You know, I was one of them guys that lived in the street right here on Ebony Inn in PG County. All right, where everything go down. So now I can't even be attracted to you unless I talk to you, no matter how you look. So we have to get back to our spiritual connections, not and which destroys is trumps the flesh. I got a saying my brothers are always going to be for me those who do right, who love righteousness, because family members, you can have a two children grow up in the same house. One love to do evil, one love to do right. You know what I mean? So you can't treat them the same, even though they're from the same bloodline. Like people say the blood is thicker than water, but the spirit is thicker than the blood. That's why when we tap into that spirit, you can do physical things that the world would say is impossible. So I just wanted to touch on a little bit of that and just be an advocate for the spiritual realm and, you know, see what you guys' feedback is.
Frank, do you keep the commandments?
Absolutely.
How many?
10.
Only 10?
Well, I keep there's a difference between commands and laws. Okay.
Yeah. Do you keep the commandments though? Because you said something about homosexuality. Homosexuality is not in the 10. So is it a sin?
So when I say so I get your point. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing that I'm gonna respond to that. There are laws, okay? There are laws, and then there's commandments. There's 10 commandments written with the finger of God. There's 613 laws that the Jews keep.
So you realize that the commandments are laws, no?
The commandments are laws, but they're separate from the laws of the Bible.
Now, if you go to Mark 12 and 29, right? Because you got to be careful now. So when you go to Mark 12 and 29, are the two?
Let me go there first.
Yeah, go there first. Go there first, real quick. Because so now when you go there, the two greatest commandments are both of those in the 10.
Absolutely.
Now I'm gonna ask you again because I want you to get it right. Go to Exodus 20 and 8 so you can get the 10, and then go to Mark 12, right? Because I don't want you to answer incorrectly just because you can't remember the verses.
No. I remember in the verses. I don't know if you go Mark 10 or something like that. Doesn't mean I don't know it. I just don't know where it's at.
Where they are. Yeah. That's what I mean. Sorry. That's what I meant.
But I'm not getting nothing wrong. It's just a perspective until you hear my perspective.
What did Jesus say? What are the two greatest commandments?
Love God with all your heart and love thy neighbor.
Okay. Is love thy neighbor in the 10?
Yes. This is what Jesus. Do you want to hear my perspective before you?
No. Is that explicit commandment in the 10?
Jesus says after the 10 commandments, I want everybody to understand this. He said that in the 10 commandments, the first 4 commandments is love God, and the rest of the commandments is love your neighbor. They all are summed up in that 10 commandments. That's what Christ said.
So have you ever read? So what about Leviticus 19 and 17?
All right, let me get there.
I don't want to go.
It's cool to throw out scriptures, but I can go there and I can give you my perspective, and then you'll understand it. Just
perspective doesn't matter, just the truth. So
absolutely.
So what you guys got to understand is people try to break down commandments and laws and yada yada. It's the same, right? Commandments are laws, right? And so when you go to Jesus, he's paraphrasing Leviticus 19 and 17, which is not in the 10 when he says love your neighbor as yourself. Right, because it's explicitly said in Leviticus 19.
All right, Leviticus 19. With 19, what verse?
You could jump to 16.
Okay.
Hey, I got to roll, guys.
Because like we're starting to get away from the topic.
Yeah, we got kind of away from the topic, but the key is that all of it matters. I think Frank made that point initially, and that's the key. And I think what we were talking about was just the women in the church, Frank, that you kind of missed. And we can have this conversation later because I don't want you to walk around not really, you know what I mean? Because I think you really give a fuck about it. So we just gotta make sure we're on the same page with the truth.
Okay.
But I think Eddie, the one key point that you kind of made in the chat that we didn't highlight was like the woman who like loves her pastor so much, right? And is manipulated by said pastor to the point where like, do we get her out of that? Is she gonna be able to follow you and her pastor at the same time? I feel like that's one point we really
No,
didn't get to like
that's
drill down on, you know?
that's a hardcore thing because Seth alluded to this earlier where you have and all the brothers in here, like we're talking sisters in particularly, you have black women who outright would absolutely not budge on anything, right? It's as if they live in the world of the Bible, Christianity, institution, church, and nothing outside of that makes any type of sense for them, even though once you step out of that, you're back in reality, right? You attempt to apply those parables and all those lessons, and you and Frank were just discussing commandments and laws. But it's like if we're structuring our relationship moving forward with God, right? There's absolutely no wiggle room whatsoever around, discussing things that in reality only work for us, right? We're not discussing the reality of antiquated, Bible things that do not apply to modern context, right? It doesn't speak to who I am as a man in that relationship, who she is as a woman in that relationship, and the things that she's going through in present day, right? We're not killing lambs for sacrifice and all the other stuff, right? We're not sacrificing, we're not doing those things, right? So when you run into women who have that very rigid, overzealous way of thinking, and they're almost exclusively all in the church, it's just like, yo, you're missing out on what could be a very beautiful thing with a person who is coming to you like incomplete, right? Jesus says, come as you are, right? But we don't do these things. We don't have the leverage or the room for it because our upbringing in the church is so damn rigid. And one thing that black people refuse to do is say that your grandmother was wrong. They say that your mama and them was wrong, right? Because a lot of these teachings, we didn't choose our religion. We were raised into it, right? And as we come into our adult selves, we begin to realize, like, you know what, I'm not fond of that. And people switch to Islam, people switch to Judaism or whatever, right? Or they choose to be agnostic, or they choose, I don't go that route, but they choose to be atheists or what have you, right? And we place all of these the limitations on them, but overall, it's just like when you find, and this is how we started the pod today. It's just like you find an amazing woman. It's just like, damn, are you telling me that this one thing is the only thing that you will not compromise on whatsoever, even though there's a profound level of flaws in it? It's just like, well, you keep it moving, but it's just like, shit, man. Like sometimes it's just like, yo, you might be the woman that God sent to me, and I'm the man that God sent to you. And it's just like, yo, he's probably up there saying, yo, work that shit out. This is the one. But it's like, no, I gotta go according to this book that's 3,000 years old or what have you. It's just like, yo, it doesn't even apply in the context in the same way. But I'll stop there because I wanted to give context. So
Well, my question is, what do you mean by that, right? Because we didn't throw out the theory of relativity or gravity or Benjamin Franklin. We didn't throw out any of that old shit that they wrote in books in math, right? So
and a
then
lot of that
why?
shit tends to be bullshit or stolen from us. Like you guys mentioned, you and Frank mentioned the
Not
commandment.
stolen though, not stolen, but we haven't negated it because it's old. So what makes
Right.
what's in the Bible so antiquated?
I would say if it can't be applied to today, or it's something that if you got to look at the context of your own relationship, right? And it's just like, well, the Bible says this, yes, but this is what's happening in our relationship right now, and this is what if I'm being allowed to be the man and the leader, it's like this is where I want us to go, right? Most sisters, most black women are almost exclusively always going to go with the word of their pastor over the word of their man, and it's just like, well, who's leading the house, your man or your pastor? You know
Okay.
what I mean? So it's just like you begin to butt heads with those type of conversations. And yeah, like, some of the ideas I said are you're profoundly antiquated, but it's just like, yeah, we have some that we haven't let go, either in a religious context or not. But it's like it goes down to what the hell is in front of us. What's our journey look like? how we gonna handle it.
But what if a woman's overly religious, right? She would be following you, right, based on the one of the earliest commandments. She would model herself as after Proverbs 31. So what would be the issue? Like, what wouldn't she do? Like, what have you seen? You know, like what have they done to you, or you seen happen where you're like, damn, this is too much? Or is it like the Christianity part? Because if they're following the Bible, they'd be straight. But maybe it's the Christianity part.
Wouldn't that be today's women's flaws, the flaws of women today, that they want us to conform, but they don't want to conform? So they'll have all these dynamics, that standards that they set. And with me, I say it's not about the religion, it's about the relationship that I have with the higher power. You know what I mean? So, and some people in the past have, you know what I'm saying, looked at that like, no, I got to go to church every Sunday. If you don't want to go to church with me every Sunday, we can't be together. Well, then it looks like we're not going to be together, because I'm not going to nobody's building every Sunday to waste my time and learn from somebody who I don't know who's really ordained or not by the higher power. Just because he said he is, just because he has this church, just because he has this flock, just because he has this following, doesn't mean that's somebody that I really need to follow. You know what I mean? But no man can lead me to there but myself. It comes through me to get up there. Last I checked, according to y'all Bible that y'all, you know, so adequately talk about. But go ahead.
But do you think that what you're saying is the issue in itself, right? That you think you have some personal relationship, right? When the Bible very explicitly tells you what to do, and tells you if you don't know the truth, if you don't follow the commandments in 1 John 2. So what if everybody just followed the Bible as opposed to trying to interpret it and say, I can do what I want based on my God and all that shit? Because isn't that the problem with these women in the first place?
Well, no, because if everybody followed the Bible and everything of that standard, it wouldn't be no churches, because everybody wouldn't be up in that building every Sunday, because there's nowhere in the Bible that to say go inside this building, give this money to this church, and build this building millions of dollars every Sunday. Exactly. It's not said in there.
That's my point, though.
Right, but no, I get that, and I get that aspect of it. But when it comes to the women, and that's what we're discussing, and them following their pastors, following everything according to what they're following what a man is telling them to do, instead of following the man that has found them. And as Eddie is saying, I found you, I'm choosing you, I'm trying to build this with you, but you're not following me as your Bible, quote unquote, says to do. You're following a man, i.e. your pastor, who is directing you to do these things, who we don't even know what his real relationship is with. Because again, you go to the Creflo Dollars, you go to all these other pastors that have been caught up in all the BS inside and outside of their church. And these are supposed to be the guys that y'all are listening to, when in fact, we don't even know if their lives are right, if they're living right outside of what they're presenting in front of the masses.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Frank, you said something? Or you talking to somebody else in the background?
I was talking to someone because the air kicked on and it messed up my hearing a little bit, but I told him to turn it off. But I mean, I completely agree with what was said. You know, we really don't know who's ordained. You know, although I call myself spiritual, but like I said, that's why I think our conversation on what the commands are is important, because like you might, like you're stating, DJ, that we're not, you know, if you're doing only the 10 commandments, you're not following all the commands. Is that what you're saying in the Bible?
Yeah, if you're only following the 10 commandments, then there's more commandments than that.
There definitely are more commandments, but there are laws that change, because you can't have a law about a stop sign until the stop sign is invented. You like my man said, they were sacrificing lamb, sheep. They had fringes upon their garments. They got a lot of things that were laws, you know, as well. So, you know, I would like to, you know, talk about that, because we cannot as a nation follow God's commands until we at least agree what are the commands.
The 613, right?
Huh?
The 613 commandments.
So you follow all 613 commandments.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the Bible says.
See, that's why I my Bible say laws. Your Bible say commandments. Laws change with the evolution of people. So not saying that
how
there's some Easy, easy. How many of you got sheep and goats to sacrifice that you own right now?
So if you understand the sacrificial law, right? They were even sacrificing after Jesus died in Acts 21 when Paul needed to sacrifice, and you have to sacrifice at the temple, but the temple's destroyed.
Exactly my point.
Your
So
point what? That the temple's not there, so there's
my
no place
point
to
is
sacrifice?
that law, there's no temple here. So where you going to sacrifice? And you don't have sheep and goats. So if you say if somebody tell me that they follow 613 laws, right? They don't got no sheep, no goat, and ain't even a temple to sacrifice to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're already that doesn't even make sense. That even there's no logic.
It's weird what the Christians do. So because there's
I'm
no
not
temple
Christian.
you sound like it. So that there's no temple to sacrifice. So you think that negates eating pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster too?
Absolutely. You want to know why? Because the word of God says, what Christ say is not what you put into your body that causes you to sin, but what comes out of your mouth.
Where do you say that at?
Okay, I'll show it to you. Yeah.
Mark 7.
Let me go to Mark 7 to see if that is it.
Yeah. And so when you read that real quick, he's
Mark
talking
7.
about he's literally talking about laws made by men and not the laws of God. He literally makes that differentiation. So that kind of contradicts the point you want to make.
Okay, let me go before the law then. When he told Noah that, because see, a law was created due to wickedness. Let's get to the root of why the law was made in the first place.
What's the first commandment?
The first commandment?
Yeah.
God, he is one, love God. Yeah.
Well, no, so
yeah.
he tells us to be fruitful and multiply. So there's law before Noah.
Before the 10 commandments, be fruitful and multiply. Yeah. What I'm saying is when Noah got off the boat, he was given is clear that he said that all the animals will fear you and you can eat all of them. There was no unclean or clean. So before the law was given due to sin, Noah, let me go to that. Noah was given that all animals were going to fear you and you can eat them all.
Do you remember when God told him to take how many clean animals and how many unclean animals? You remember?
Seven clean and 2 unclean.
Okay, so it literally existed before they got back off the boat.
But that proves my point. But when he got off the boat, I'll go to the scripture. It's not something that we.
So they were clean and unclean, and you saying when they got off the boat that changed?
No, I didn't change. What changed was what they could eat when the law came. Like I don't need to. We don't need to debate. Okay. After the flood and after they got off the boat, all animals you could eat. It's not until the Levitical law that you could only eat unclean animals. All animals you could. That's why the Levitical law differentiate between what you could eat and what you couldn't, because when Noah came off the boat, you could eat all animals. It states there right in the Bible.
No, so they made a distinction between clean and unclean, and then you think because the Levitical law is explicit and explains it to us, it explains to all Israel, then you think that Noah was allowed to eat everything.
No, the Bible say Noah was allowed to eat all animals. It's not a they didn't have a you can only eat unclean and clean. They knew what was unclean, what was clean. But so that's obvious. So that's your point you're making. But but there was no command that you couldn't make, that you could only eat the clean animals. That was not a command.
Gotcha. So they were just using that term like, hey, this is unclean and this is clean, but eat the fuck you want to eat.
I tell you what, I don't know if these guys are familiar with it. We'll just go to the verse.
Yeah, no, we could, because you're gonna have a problem. If you think that
this is the say Genesis 9. I'm not gonna. I just want your interpretation. I want these guys' interpretation.
Go ahead.
All right. It said God blessed Noah and his sons and said, "Have many children, so that your descendants will live all over the earth. All the animals, birds, and fish will live in fear of you. They are all placed under your power. Now you can eat them, as well as green plants. I give them all to you for food." Guys, what is your what does that say? That's what his Bible say. That's what my Bible say. how do you guys interpret all?
I agree with you. I agree with you. Like I said, I don't agree with some of the things that Ham say as far as the eating of the pork, eating of the mouse of the sea and the clams and the crabs and all that stuff. I mean, I'm going to partake in some shrimp personally. That's me. I like shrimp and crab legs.
But I want to know, how do you interpret?
No, I'm with you. All of it is, yeah. I get
did he say some? Did he say?
Absolutely didn't. He said all.
Clean? So this is what I get. See, I like, for me, who keep a Sabbath, who study the Bible all the way through in every language, not just King James Version, and every single version, maybe read over 18 different versions. And then he talks about they had clean and unclean animals going to the thing, but all animals. So what Christ did was he brought us back to our roots. All right. The Levitical law was there because they were just all over the place and they needed structure. But now we have to be governed by the Spirit because Christ was born in spirit. So if you got no unclean animals, right, around you, and your neighbor is hungry and he's dying of hunger, you have to break the law and feed him. It might have to be some shrimp or crab if that's all you have, or if that's all that's in the sea, just to save his life. So I'm just saying, so it's very clear to me that scripture saying all means unclean and clean. And that's why I said, when he gives me these scriptures and when he says, don't go around saying something that he want me to know the truth, well, you got to know my perspective, because you might be the one spreading something false.
So Leviticus 11, what does Leviticus 11 say?
Leviticus 11 is getting into the law. I'm giving you way before the law that all food, all animals was clean to eat. It says it clearly before the law.
Well, they're defined as clean and unclean. And then what does the explicit law say?
Where are you? I'll go to you. Leviticus 11, where?
Oh, you can start at, no matter. It's the whole thing. You start at 7, maybe.
Okay.
Cause I'm practicing, so I'm gonna do it off the top of my head. I don't want to look up shit.
Well, you already looked it up 100 times going over this.
It's rudimentary, kind of. So
yeah, you know these things.
Yeah, Leviticus 11 is pretty explicit, and then jump to Isaiah 66 and 17. Because you guys know what the law says in Leviticus 11.
Yeah,
right?
I agree with that time. That's why it's a law. That's why the 10 Commandments never changed, and that's why it's a commandment.
The 10 Commandments are in the first 10 Commandments are Exodus 20, so that would be after Noah.
That's correct. But what I'm saying is written with, I'm making there's a difference between that's my point that I came in on the show with. There's a difference between the 10 Commandments written with the finger of God and then the laws they put for Israel. And that's the point, because commandments don't change, laws change. Just like there was a law, you could eat all things at Noah time, and then it changed to eat some things. And I believe that Christ is bringing it back where it's back to his original. That's my point. And that's the point of.
So you're saying that laws and commandments are different.
Absolutely.
That's your
absolutely. So
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that.
I'll give you another example. When we talked about Christ, and he said, love God and then love thy neighbor. After that, which most people like yourself don't continue to read, after that, he said, and this are all the laws fulfilled. So he's not talking about the 613 laws. He's literally only talking about the 10 Commandments, and that's how they're filled. That love God is the first 4 of the 10 Commandments. It has nothing to do with eating anything. Love God, then love thy neighbor. So he's alluding right back to the 10 Commandments. So these laws that you speak of, and some that you physically just can't do, there's no temple. Those laws is what Christ fulfilled. He said, I came to fulfill the law, you know, but he also is bringing understanding to the 10 Commandments, because what God says does not change. The laws were written by angels. People don't know that. Okay. So for Israel, there was an angel leading Israel, leading the army. So the laws always change. So if you think the laws and the commandments are the same, then obviously that could be your error that you're telling me to watch out for.
Yeah. So they are the same.
Okay.
Commandments and laws, you can use that word interchangeably if you want to, but it's all the law, they're all commandments.
Okay, I mean, you believe that. I gave you reason why the laws change. It's obvious that the laws change from Noah getting off the boat to Moses giving a law. It's obvious that those things change. The Ten Commandments never change. So there is a difference. And the laws, the Ten Commandments was written by the finger of God on 2 pamphlets and held in the Ark of the Covenant. The laws are written in books. They're written all over the place. These are definitely different. They were given at different times. So, and one was given by God himself. Those have not changed. And when Christ was talking about that love God and love your neighbor, he was clearly stating that those things cover the 10 commandments. He wasn't talking about the laws of wash your hands before you eat or anything crazy, or don't cook a mother's goat in her own milk. Those things are different. And that's why the laws changed. That's why the lady didn't get stoned, because if you committed adultery in the Levitical priesthood, you got stoned. Christ did not follow that law. Okay, because that's a law. He said to those who have not sinned, cast the first stone. So obviously he did not allow that law to take place, because he's the high priest, and with the high priest comes a new law, which is written in Hebrews. Let me go to Hebrews that states that with a new high priest, so that y'all know that's not me saying that, but it's by the word of God that I understand it. So at least you don't have to agree, but you'll at least understand my perspective.
Yeah, so I think we're pretty clear on grace, right? Because the Levitical law is pretty concrete, right? So if you do certain things, you get put to death. But we understand that Jesus came to give grace for sure.
But he's not going to break a law if that's the law of God. Yes, we have grace and mercy, but it's obvious that it's the law that he's not keeping that law. It's just. But I'll show you in Hebrews.
And well, while y'all go back and forth over that, and that's where I agree with Frank and Hamp. I disagree with certain times, because when we say commandments and laws, and from my reading, it's referring to the laws of the land for the most part. Like, yeah, he's created laws, but it's laws of the land. As times change, laws change. At one point in time, the speed limit was 55 in certain areas, then it went up to 65. So technically, by breaking a law at 55, in some people's mind, it would be sinning, technically. However, when they changed it to 65, you can go over 55 now. So when it comes to the laws of the land versus the original commandments that he gave, that's where we've had our back and forth to a little bit in regards to things that's going on. It's different from the actual laws, whether they be man-made laws that he's telling you to abide by, or the actual commandments that he's given.
I got a great verse that proves what we're saying. If you go to Hebrews 7:11, Hebrews 7:11. I don't know what version. I think most people like KJV. I'll just go to there just because it's well known. Hebrews 7:11 explains exactly what you just said. If therefore perfection were by the Levitical priesthood, what further need was there that another priest shall arise after the order of Melchizedek, and not be called after the order of Aaron? For the priesthood being changed, there is made a necessity, a change also of the law. So it's literally saying, when Christ being our new priest, being coming from Melchizedek, that he also has the power to change the law. He's greater than the law. There's literally a change in the law, literally. And so, but the 10 commandments written by the finger of God can never change. So there is a difference. And that's why I say these Christians or Hebrew Israelites or whoever they may be who stick hard to these black power people who stick hard with these laws given by Aaron, not following the laws of Christ. And they intertwine the 10 commandments with the laws, these 613 laws that we can't even live by. It's not even part of our culture. But the 10 commandments, we definitely, since as long as heaven and earth stands, we can live by them because they're just basic principles.
Yeah, I think it's dangerous a little bit, because if you look at any Bible historian, any what I guess I'll use this word, interpretation of what the commandments and laws are, you'll be hard pressed to find a differentiation between the 10 and the 613, as the 613 or 601, if my math is correct, or 2, right, being laws only and not commandments. You'll find any historian pretty much will tell you that the 613 commandments and laws, that's kind of like an interchangeable term. So I'm just trying to figure out where you got that from, where the commandments and laws are different.
I just showed you how they're different. I just spent a lot of time. I understand that you're not receiving it, but historians have been wrong even with religion forever. That's number one. Number two, the laws definitely changed because Christ did not keep the Levitical laws. And that's why they crucified. That's part of the reason why they wanted to get rid of them. So, I mean, it's obvious. And there's a lot of historians that would agree with what I agree with. You just maybe haven't. It's a lot of people that feel the way I feel. I'm not the only one.
Well, yeah, most you Christians feel that way.
Okay, well,
you don't have to keep the commandments because it's easier for you. So I get it.
Yeah, but I keep the commandments. Like I said, I just don't keep the law. So it's the opposite. I believe that anybody that does not keep the commandments is in error in some kind of way. But that don't mean I'm going to judge them. Okay, but anything written with the finger of God brings fear to me that I just want to keep. But when you get into the Levitical priesthood, I mean, where's your fringes? I mean, where are your? There's so many laws.
Yeah, I wear my fringes playing football, so I mean, I'm used to that.
But that's, it didn't say just playing football.
No, I'm saying even playing football. You understand what I'm saying? So like, I even go so far as to wear them on the football field.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But there's a lot of laws you're just not going to be able to keep. So that's
what? Like we don't have the temple, so I get that.
Yeah, but, so you just can't keep it. It's just that simple.
But you keep the ones you can keep, right?
You have to go through every 601, 613 laws or whatever you want to say and say, okay, this law makes sense today in these times. This law doesn't make sense today in these times.
Don't make sense.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there are plenty of them. I mean, we can start with the goat and the sacrifice. That one in itself says that there are more than one that is in error.
You can't keep it, right? Because you need the temple,
but how many other of the 601, 613 can't you keep?
So and that's the point, right? The law is not that difficult. It's only 613.
Okay,
right?
But how many of them are accurate with today's times?
America has 40,000 laws that you keep on a daily basis without even knowing. Like sexual immorality laws, right? Like gay, bestiality, incest, having sex with your father's wife, adultery. Those, I mean, that's 8 right there.
Right.
The food laws are pretty simple.
But there are different laws though by the law of the land.
No, I'm just giving you some, like the tattoos, right? Having your beard on your face. It doesn't seem that difficult when you break them all down.
Let's name some difficult ones. You should be stoning every gay person, every witch. You should be every adulterer. You should be stoning them. Let's go to some difficult laws.
It's not difficult to kill people who deserve to be killed.
Okay, so you should do it because it's God's law over man's law.
Here's what we got to right. So Jesus matters too, right? So like you said, he did bring a change. He gave us grace. right? So now you can repent. Can you willfully sin and repent? No. Let's go back to Hebrews 10, right? So we understand that. So that's the new covenant in terms of the law matters, but now you have grace. So you don't just get stoned for being gay, or you don't just get stoned for an adultery, so on and so forth.
But if you continue to do it,
so you don't have grace for, so you get grace on the hard things. You don't get stoned, which you got to show me that in the Bible, by the way. And
when you just said, remember, Jesus said, "He without sin cast the first stone," and so he said, "Go and sin no more."
But this is exactly. So here's the thing.
Well, that was the example you gave.
People do the same sin, adultery, every other day. Get caught the same way. So number one, I guess they should be stoned. Number two, you're pointing out.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
I'm saying
I said you get grace, right?
But you said sin no more. Sin no more. That word matters.
We use the analogy with the lady, right, who was committing adultery, and Jesus gave her grace and said, "Sin no more." Okay,
but words matter. Words matter, right?
Yeah, I know.
So if you say sin no more,
wait.
Go with the hot topic.
Wait. I'm just saying. He said, "Give an example." So that was the example, right, of Jesus giving grace, right?
Right.
Now,
absolutely.
Is it our duty? Are you saying to carry out the punishment for the laws? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, the Lord God says, you be the whoever sees them first, whoever the witness is, be the first one to cast the stone. Not that. So he's telling you to carry out the duties.
Yeah.
So that Israel, and not only that, but let me just give this point real quick. It's crazy how we get mercy and grace for like something major, like gay, witchcraft, and then
I don't think it's major.
Hold on. I mean, okay, well, you don't think it's major, but I'm not gonna argue on if it's major, you know. But if you don't wear fringes, right? If you don't do the other small laws, it's frowned upon with certain religious types. It seems like you're a Hebrew Israelite. Am I right?
Well, what do you mean frowned upon?
Are you a Hebrew Israelite?
Well, what do you mean frowned upon, though?
So what I'm saying is, like, we got grace and mercy. Like, we apply grace and mercy
to everything.
So therefore, what good is a law? Because if you got grace, the way you put it, if you got grace and mercy on everything, then that's how the world is.
There's no point in having the law if you have grace and mercy on everything.
Here's the thing, like I just said, Hebrews 10, right? You don't continue to get repentance for repeating sins, right? So if you want to be saved, like Jesus said, he who endures unto the end shall be saved. Matthew 22, right? So that's the key. You got to keep the law to the end if you want to be saved. There's no such thing as I repent or I give my life to Jesus and I'm saved. That's not a thing per Jesus. He who endures unto the end shall be saved.
Okay,
you remember the gentleman came to Jesus in Matthew 19 and said, he said, "Good master, how do I be saved?" Matthew 19 and 16, 17. And Jesus says, "Keep the commandments."
Okay, so cool. So now we're gonna go with the things that you said and the things that you stated, and this is, like I said, this is where we differ in our opinion.
Okay, cool. What though? What part?
So, but listen, I agree with you. I agree with what you're saying. Everything you're saying is right. He who's without sin cast the first stone, but you also said that sin no more. So sin no more matters. That part matters.
I know. I didn't say
okay. All right. So if that part matters, that means that somebody like myself or B, because I know B's not really overly religious, that don't have fringes, whatever they may be, on a daily basis, every day, we are sinning daily. So therefore, we should get stoned at some point by you, because we have sinned and we're not adhering to the sin no more aspect.
My brother Frank was correct, and when Jesus comes, right?
No. We got to stop with that first before we go to. We got sin no more. It can't be grace.
I
grace.
Just
he said you give grace, right? But then sin no more. He told her to sin no more.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So now I continue to sin every day because I don't have my fringes. So therefore, I didn't follow the sin no more aspect of life.
Hebrews 10 and 26. I already referenced that, right?
Okay.
What does it say? That's all. Right? It says you can't continuously willfully sin. To your point, man. So then if you willfully sin, there is no more
stoned.
There's no more sacrifice for sins, right? So when Jesus came, right, and died for us to give us grace, you don't continue to get grace if you continue to sin. So unfortunately said, maybe you didn't know about the fringes, but now you know. So it behoove you to go ahead and get some fringes, right? Now, and the only reason why I love Jesus is dope to me. Well, not the only reason, but the main reason, because he gave us grace, right? But it also says in Philippians 4, all the Christians know this, right? I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me. So I don't understand where this weakness comes from, where we can't keep the laws.
Okay, okay. Let me since he's in Hebrews 10, I want to get his interpretation on the very first thing on Hebrews 10, chapter 1, because obviously
verse 1,
you're not we have different understandings of this, and I'll read it so the guys can hear it if they're not there. It says, for the law having a shadow of things to come and not the very image of the things, could never, with those sacrifices which they offered year by year, continually make the comers thereunto perfect. For then they would not have ceased to be offered, because the worshipers once purged should have had no more consciousness of sin. But in those sacrifices is a remembrance again made of sins every year. So when you say Christ came and he died so that we can be no more sins, right? Then let's go back to, because he say grace and mercy when it comes to stoning.
No more sins? What do you mean?
So that we can sin no more. It's possible through Christ that we can sin no more, basically, right?
Saying, he gave us grace, right? So you don't get stoned anymore when you commit said sins.
But what about the person? Because what Christian out here don't believe that adultery is a sin?
I think they all believe that.
Okay, so you Hebrew Israelite, if they commit adultery twice by your law, they should be dead.
Yeah, the wages of sin is death, right?
No, but you should kill them.
No, so this is it. This is, and I'm gonna say it for the 5th time, but it's okay.
Okay.
Right? We have the grace, right? And the death comes when Jesus comes back and really puts his foot down. So that's when you're gonna pay for all that, right? It's not my duty anymore.
Okay, so he didn't say, I just didn't. Okay, so I see how you interpret it, but in the Levitical priesthood, it was definitely your duty. So you're saying that Christ came. So we definitely, if it's not your duty to
carry out the penalty,
to carry out
the laws change,
then you definitely shouldn't be carrying out putting on fringes. That's my opinion.
No, I'm just saying my duty. I'm just saying it's not our responsibility to carry it out.
It is our responsibility.
No.
It is, according to the Bible, it is our responsibility. Because he said, he who was without sin cast the first stone. So therefore, if somebody was without sin, technically they were supposed to cast that first stone.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Period. Right. Yeah. And that was the time of Jesus, right? He was here.
But now you're moving the goalpost, as my man B said. You're moving the goalpost.
No,
you're definitely moving the goalpost, because you're saying stick to the laws.
I've been literally
but then you say the laws can't change. But now you're saying it's a different time. It can't be.
The laws don't change. The penalty in which that you incur for breaking the law, it's not our responsibility now to carry it out. It'll be carried out when Jesus come back.
That's what I'm saying. Is change.
So yeah,
makes it change.
So the laws change if it's not our responsibility.
My apologies. Yeah. My apologies. The carrying out the penalty of the law, that's not our responsibility anymore, right? But now what we have, because we have grace, I'm able to say, "Hey, said, get some fringes every time I see you. Hey, said, where your friend? Or I can buy you some fringes, right? Because you do have grace to where you can get away from that penalty if you don't continue in that sin. That's all."
Okay, so but what if somebody was without sin in that group? Could he have hit that woman with a stone?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then. So therefore,
okay, then what? See, here's the thing. You're not really proving. You're not really like, okay, then. You didn't say nothing to say okay, then. You didn't.
I
You
mean,
didn't say nothing.
that's just common. That should be.
But you didn't say nothing to say okay. Then, like you proved the point. I've been
Okay,
saying the
no,
same. Hold on.
you're not saying the same thing.
Let me just say this.
You're transitioning it. You're
I've been
moving it.
saying the same thing the entire time. I've been
Yes,
saying
you've been
that
saying the same thing,
we
but
have
you have
grace. We have grace.
Okay.
We no longer have. We don't carry out the penalty, and now we have an opportunity to save our brothers now, because right before Jesus came, we didn't have grace. Right?
We
You
always had
remember?
the opportunity to save our brothers because we always had people that was trying to save people.
We did have grace before Jesus came.
We didn't have grace before Jesus.
Yes, we did, because David slept with a married man. Not only did he sleep with a married man's wife, he had him killed.
And he killed him.
Yeah, and that's after the Levitical priest. So we had
David.
grace.
That's David. David had grace in that instance for sure.
He took the showbread from the priesthood.
David had grace in that instance. Hey, I got you.
Okay, so let's not
like
say,
even
let's,
like
let's, I don't want you to say something like you told me. I don't want you to say go around saying stuff that's untrue.
Yeah, good point. David had grace.
If it goes for David, it can go for us.
Well, no, David is the man after David is a man after God's own heart. So you'd be hard
so
pressed.
if our heart is after God,
well, let me show you.
We can have grace.
Second Ezra 7, right? I don't know if you read the Apocrypha.
Yes, I do.
But there was a family, right? Do you remember the family that literally got their tongues cut out and everything else because they refused to eat the pork?
Absolutely, the 7 sons and the mom, and they jumped in the fire. Absolutely.
It's a cool story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we went very far to keep the laws, you know. But now, thankfully, Jesus came and he gives us grace, and we have opportunities now, right? So you have a grace period, right? I think I said this before. You know, you get a grace period on like a bill or something. You still got to pay the bill, right?
But what I'm saying is
that's the only difference.
What I'm saying is there was always grace for people that after God's own heart. If he had mercy on who he chooses to have mercy on. But I read an important scripture to you that you did not touch on in Hebrews 7, because it said with the new priest. It says with the new priest, there's a new law, which easily says there's a change in the old law. Because now Christ after death, so that's an easy. So for us to say with fringes, Christ don't talk about fringes.
I see. I think I understand. So are you guys saying that the change is now that people don't get stoned right away, so that changes the law? Like, is that just as like a minute example? Are you saying that that's a change in the law because people don't instantly get the punishment carried out?
That's part of it. Yes, that's part of it.
That's a small part of it.
Okay, if you're saying that changes the law in terms of when the penalties happen, okay, I can.
No, we're just saying laws change in general.
They changed totally, but that's just one aspect that we wanted you to see. That's all.
Okay. I agree. Well, I guess I've been kind of saying that, but I don't know if I explicitly said I agree. So I'd rather say that, people don't want to acknowledge shit. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we don't carry out the penalties anymore, but that's what I've been saying too. But if I wasn't listening or acknowledging it, I apologize.
But that's just a small aspect. All those laws a lot of those 613 laws have changed.
Yeah, I disagree.
Okay.
I haven't seen them change.
Well, they some of them can't be played out.
Yeah, you can't play it out. Doesn't mean it change.
But I'm
change with law.
I'm making a point.
The law doesn't change, but there's no temple to carry it out.
Okay, give me your interpretation of Hebrews 7:11, because it says the law changed. It literally just says that. So what is your interpretation? What have they taught you?
Who's they? What do you mean?
You learning their information, because if you read the Bible, it's obvious that it's changed.
I haven't even been going to my Bible. This is all off the top of my head. I'm just practicing.
That's great because you studied it. But I know the Bible very well, including the Apocrypha, including all the books. So you just happen to stumble across somebody that knows it well. What does 7:11 says the laws change?
I think you know it. I think you know it decently.
Okay. It doesn't matter. Really, I'm not going to judge my knowledge of it, but I don't want to get past the topic. It literally says the laws change. It literally says it in the Bible.
And that's all we're saying. It's the difference between the laws and the commandments. That's it.
No, it's all the same. And I think Hold on, I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
That don't happen often. Come on now.
No, yeah, I lost my train of thought. I was thinking of something else.
Hey, B, that seat getting hot over there, B. It's getting hot over there. I know you see it. I know you see it, B. You ain't gotta say nothing.
No, it says the law change. It says the law change. It literally say the law changed with the new priesthood. It literally says that plainly. For him to not even comment on it, him to not talk about it, to not have his own interpretation on it, there's something wrong. And it's in the Hebrew book that.
Yeah, I like the book of Hebrews. So again, if we are acknowledging that grace, right, comes, so now you don't carry out the penalties, that's a change in the law. Okay.
No. It says the law changed. I'm not talking about grace. I'm not talking about grace.
No, you are. If you're saying that the law, the penalties of committing said sins is no longer carried out by man, I agree with that. So if that's a change in the law, as you guys acknowledged before, then cool.
But I'm asking you, do you agree with this scripture? And I'm not. We passed that. We all agree. That this says the law changed.
That's a change in the law, right? You're saying that because we no longer carry out the penalties, that's a change in the law.
No. I'm talking about this scripture says law change, not carrying out the penalty.
Well, you said that change. Well, you said that's a change in the law, right?
That's just a minor example. This literally say
if you saying because now you got to acknowledge too. So now if you're saying that's a change in the law, and I agree, then the law changed. What's the problem?
No, the problem is I'm telling you that the whole law changed. It's a new priest in town. His name he's our Messiah. His name, we call him Christ. That changed all those laws. And they still line up with the 10 commandments. Oh, I'm telling you that this is what they're saying. It's not saying because you don't have to carry out the penalty. That was just an example of the change of the whole law.
Yeah.
It's literally saying Hebrews 7:11 is clearly stating a fact that the law changed. It didn't say what part of the law changed. It didn't say what changed in the law. It said the law changed. So therefore, we got to seek for what is the new law, which is every word that our Messiah speak. And that's why we got to go through it. He was just giving an example. This don't have nothing to do with just the small part.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that's a small part, though. You think it's a small part?
I'm not going to get into that. I just want to talk about the whole law being changed.
Well, because you keep.
I agree. It's a big
because you keep.
I changed my word.
Well, because you can't use qualifiers and then be dismissive of said qualifier. You use that qualifier. I didn't. Right?
You're distracting from what I'm asking.
Well, what I'm telling you is the change is that.
No, that's not the change he's talking about. We brought that up. Christ didn't bring that up. But
that's the change. That's the change in the law. Other than that, you got to keep the law.
No. The law changed. It's a change in the law. It didn't say in a part of the law.
So what changed about the law?
Everything.
Yeah, so you got to keep the law. We vehemently disagree on that. Especially because of what Jesus says.
You disagree with Hebrews, then you disagree with Hebrews 7:11.
No, because it says the law changed, right? And then when you break it down, we know what changed about the law in terms of carrying out the penalties.
No.
What changed about the law?
Yeah.
The carrying out of the penalties.
But the penalty law did not change because if somebody without sin if somebody there was without sin, they could have threw the stone. So it didn't change shit. The only thing that changed was that he gave grace and he said, sin no more. Yeah. But however, people today continue to sin. So therefore, if you continue to sin, that means you didn't sin no more. That means now you have, who is not a sinner, has the ability to stone said individual because they continually sin. That is what we're saying. That's it. That's all. That's why we say it's a small part, because you're trying to stick to that one part of the law. We're talking about the whole laws as a whole. Yeah. So if somebody was there present who was without sin, they could have stoned that person. So the law didn't change in that aspect. The law changed in the aspect of God giving her grace instead of stoning her immediately. Yeah. That's the part that you're talking about. We're giving grace now. We're giving the time period. We don't have to do our credit right here, right now. Yeah. However, if I am somebody who is a creditor that needs my credit right here, right now, you're going to give me mine right here, right now. That's it. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah. So I've been saying it. The grace is the key to the change.
Yes.
That's
grace
I mean,
is key to the change.
I mean, I don't, but you still got to keep the law. You can't, those are the sins, or else how else do you sin? What is sin?
Okay, so all right, so let's just stick with the same thing. She sinned once.
Sure.
They said, okay, you got grace. Nobody threw a stone. She goes back and she sins again, does the exact same thing. He says, okay, as you say, I'm trying to get you these fringes, or I might get you these fringes. I keep on sinning, she keeps on sinning. At what point do she stop getting grace and the person who is without sin cast the first stone?
Gotcha. So I think I said it before, but I'll say it again just so I'm clear.
You saying God is the only person that can cast the stone now, is what you're saying. And we're saying that's not true.
When Jesus come back, people's asses is grass. That's all.
Well, we agree with that. But
we all agree with that part.
Let me sum up. Let me sum up what I believe is the perfect answer that puts it all together. Love trumps the law. It always has. The reason why David could eat the shewbread that he was forbidden to eat in the law is because it was out of love to keep his army alive. The reason why if you can eat pork if it's the only thing available, all right, to save your brother that's dying from starvation. Love trumps the law.
Yeah,
love
that's
is, so
Frank, that's in the Quran, but we don't have that in the Bible.
Oh man, you know why you it is in the Bible? Because what's the first? Let me ask you the same question you asked me. What's the first two greatest commandments?
Per Jesus.
Yeah.
Mark 12:29.
Yes. Can you say it?
Love God, right? And then love your neighbor as yourself.
There you go.
Love
trumps the law. It trumps the law. It always have. That's why you can give grace. That's why, because listen, David sinned during the Levitical priesthood law. Like when he slept with a married man's wife, and then he had him killed. All right. Like literally he should have died.
Yeah.
And God said, you shall not die. But David then stored up. There's a lot of love. There's a lot of love that David was able to sacrifice his whole life. So this grace comes from love. It's a part of it. I'm not saying God can give grace, but love has always trumped the law. It has always trumped the law when it comes to neighbor. And do you know how the Levites became so precious to God? I'll tell you why. Because the Levites, when Moses came down from the mountain, the Levites killed their own brothers, their sisters, everything. Their zeal for God was greater than any Judah, any of them.
Yeah.
And I say that because they had the first command was love God. Love God. So love God trumps love your neighbor. But there is an order. A lot of people, even though all sins lead to death, not all sins are equal.
That's true.
So therefore, the reason why Jesus could pluck the corn heads off the field and feed his people when he was hungry, because he was doing it out of love. Therefore, the command of loving your neighbor, which is his greatest, because he changed the priesthood, because he is our priest. Okay, Yahweh Shai, right? That's what you call him. So because he changed the priesthood, love trumps all law. And if you're not giving love, if you back talking, if you saying I'm going to kill you, you trying to, and you not giving love, then you're not doing the will of God, the second commandment in some parts. Gotcha. And that's why we got to understand how strong love is. Now you and I, we enforce the 10 commandments. We enforce, hey, we don't want you to be gay. Where the world might say yes, because we love God.
But I'm just saying. All right, so Frank, let me just, because I just want to make sure people understand too. So you're saying that because gay is not in the 10, but you're saying it's encompassed in the 10 by love your neighbor?
No, what I'm saying is, this is what I'm saying. It
Well,
was
because
once a
I just
law.
want to make sure they, it's
Okay,
clear.
okay,
That's all.
okay, no problem. Answer your question again.
Yeah. So, because you just mentioned gay, but gay's not in the 10. So,
No,
are
it's
you
not.
saying that's encompassed in love your neighbor?
No. Well, this is what I'm saying.
Go ahead.
There was in the Levitical priesthood,
Mm-hmm.
you was to stone a man that liked man.
Yeah.
And it also said,
Well, it said put to death, but it doesn't say like
put to death,
how necessarily.
put to
Yes, sir.
death, put to
Yep.
death. And it
Yep.
said that, and it also said God hate that. It's
Mm-hmm.
something, one of the sins God hated. It's also in the New Testament where it said, if you do these certain things, you will not go to the kingdom. So this is
Yep.
why it said, if you are
Yeah.
gay,
1 Corinthians 6. Yep.
1 Corinthians. So I'm not saying, so that's why I feel free to say that it's still a sin,
Mm-hmm.
because it's in the New Testament as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm saying that, yes, we uphold in our household, we teach you this is wrong.
Yeah.
But as long as God give you a breath of life, you can change.
Yeah.
And you can be saved when you submit your life to the words of Christ.
And you got to stop doing those things. Like, can you still be gay?
No, you got to stop it.
Yeah.
But you got to love God enough to stop it. But that's not,
Agreed.
I don't need to cast a stone.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the new law that Christ put, being our new priest.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's saying you got to stop it. You got to love God so much to do so, right? And if you don't stop it, regardless of how much you express, you're going to pay for it, right?
Correct. When you die.
Yeah. That's what. Okay.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that the law is still not forced. Like, so when we get to like fringes, the fringes is to remind you of the commandments.
Yeah.
Okay. Christ say, I write these laws in your heart.
In the New Testament, though. Or excuse me, the New Covenant. Sorry.
In the New Covenant, these 10 commandments are supposed to be written in your heart.
And you won't teach each other.
Fringes are not needed if they're written in your heart, on your soul.
Oh, that's another. Oh, so you feel we're in the New Covenant?
Absolutely.
Oh,
wow.
Shit. Now I understand. Oh, okay.
Oh,
Frank,
my goodness.
now we on the same page.
Absolutely.
Look, Frank, look, because I didn't want to say that at first. Cause I'm like, oh shit, Frank think we in the New Covenant, but I didn't want to say it out loud. Oh, okay, yeah, we not in the New Covenant.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's where our disconnect is, I think.
No. You didn't explain the law change. It said the law changed with the new priest. You said just a part of the change.
My bad, good brother. I love you. No, we ain't in the New Covenant. You still, that's the difference, because also it says written on your heart, and you won't have to teach each other either. So we're not at that point yet in Jeremiah 31.
Some of us are at that point, actually.
Well, we don't have to teach
because I don't have a teacher.
You gotta teach though, but you have to teach though.
Huh?
You have to teach though.
No, I don't.
Oh, not sorry. You don't have to.
I'm a proven fact that I don't have to teach, because I myself did not have a teacher.
I got you.
See God. Listen, I'll tell you real quick. I went to Jerusalem. I took a plane ticket by myself. Then I went to Ethiopia by myself. Everything that I'm spitting back to you is literally, I didn't trust no man. I was brought up in a Baptist church.
Hey, Frank.
I'm just saying, I don't have a teacher, but the word of God.
Ain't nothing you say is real quick, Frank. You long-winded as a motherfucker, but I love it though.
That's true, but it's true though. I don't have a teacher, so that means you only need the zeal of God. Love God with all your heart, and you also won't need a teacher.
Yeah, I got you.
It's just that simple.
But I think there's so many people that need a teacher by and large out here that I think that kind of negates some of those rules of that New Covenant. But yeah, I know we're not in the New Covenant though.
But that's if they choosing to seek or not seek. If you choosing to seek God, only you can get yourself to Him. That's why I say going to church every Sunday, listening to that man speak, that's not going to get you where you need to be.
Yeah,
it's your relationship. It's your relationship. Period. That's it. That's all.
Anybody that got the zeal to seek God with all their heart, which is a command, which is something that Christ talked about, does not need another man to tell them. And I'm a living example of that. It's just, we are in the New Covenant. Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, no, I don't. We're not in the new covenant.
So
I thought. I
I'm
thought
lying.
you're lying.
I'm lying because I don't have a teacher.
Why you? Why
There's
are you
not a
lying?
man that is I consider a teacher or that even believes what I believe.
Yeah.
So if your example of not being a new covenant is that we still need a teacher, then I'm being false. It's
Well, it
just
says
that simple.
the law would be written on your hearts. But we're not keep. You said that the law doesn't matter, right? It says
No,
law. It doesn't say commandments.
But when this is the thing about interpretation, depends on what book you read.
It says
There
law,
is
though,
a
Frank.
different. Have you read how many books interpretations? Some say commandments, some say laws. They're interchangeable when it comes to translation.
Well, that's what
but
I've been saying.
I know that he means 10 commandments. That's
not
what
fair,
I know
Frank.
because I studied.
That's not fair, baby boy.
What you mean? Just like I said, Christ met the 10 commandments when he said that it's all summed up. Love God and love your neighbor. The first 4 is love God. The next are love your neighbor. I knew that he wasn't talking about the whole law and fringes and stuff like that. That is fair. I'm very consistent.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Consistent.
Yeah, you've been consistent on that. But when it says law, and it says law in the King James, to your point, right? Does it say law in the NLT? Like that's right. So I understand what you're saying there. No, I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah.
I
That's what I'm saying.
understand. I understand what you're saying. I understand
they interchanged that because they didn't understand the difference between law and commands. That's part of me seeking God on my own, not trusting an interpretation.
Question though, do you think so? What is like sin then? How do we sin if the law doesn't matter? If the law is negated, how do people sin?
I didn't say that the law did not matter.
Well, you're saying that the law doesn't pertain, right? Like it depends, it changes.
No,
So
it's spiritual, so it's easy. So we keep the 10 commandments. If you break them, you're sinning.
But it says
the law was.
But you said gay was a sin, Frank.
Listen what I'm saying.
Okay.
It is. That's why you won't in Corinthians. I'm not even going to go to the priesthood. You will not enter the kingdom, right?
Yeah.
So it is. But if you, with every breath that he gives, that you're given in this world, you're able to defeat and your flesh. You're able to conquer your sin.
No, I know, Frank. I know, I got that.
So you can stop the sin, yeah.
But sin, right? Because if you're saying that the 10 is only what matters, then technically being gay wouldn't matter, right? Because what is sin?
That's everything falls under the 10, like the Messiah say. He said, "Love God and love your neighbor."
No, I know. So, but that encompasses the law, the 613 other commandments, or 601, whatever the math is.
Right, but the law is summed up in 2 commandments.
No, I understand that, but the whole law still matters, right?
Yeah. So, but we know it's still a sin because of 1 Corinthians, and the sins, the laws tell us what sins are.
Yes, I know
they do.
But you were saying that the law doesn't, so we don't have to keep it though.
No, this is what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying though.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is that although you don't keep it, you have a chance to keep it because of the new priesthood, the law, the mercy, the grace.
The grace, yeah.
I'm saying you should keep it.
I agree.
So that's all I've been saying the whole time.
But if you don't keep it, we agree that you fucked at the end.
Yeah. But that's why Christ said, there's a scripture that says in the New Testament, he says, those that not one part of the law is deceased with.
Matthew 5.
He said, but he also said, those who keep all the law are going to be greater than those who don't. So that means you still make it to the kingdom. It means that
to be least in the kingdom, right?
You'll be least. So what I'm saying is that, although the laws are in place, that you still can make it in the kingdom. And number two, love trumps. There's a hierarchy in the laws, and love trumps all of the other ones because it's situational.
Look at this guy.
That's all.
Niggas are stupid. Yeah, so it's interesting. This was the way to said on the chat talking about we're gonna go back and forth all day. Said kiss my ass, said. No, it's good, and that's why I like to boil it down, because I like your discernment a lot. I feel like I knew that was the disconnect a little bit, and what covenant too, but I didn't want to say it because that would have ruined the conversation early. You know what I mean? Like, so that was good. And I'm understanding. I think that you probably keep way more. I'll use the terminology just for sake of the conversation. Laws than most people. Is that fair? You think?
Yeah, probably so.
You know,
maybe not a Hebrew Israelite.
Yeah,
but more than, and that's why I said I'm not a standard Christian. I'm not
no, you actually digging, like you can tell. You know what I mean? So yeah, I believe that we are the real Israelites. But again, if I say that early, it fucking ruins it. Like, you know what I mean? So I just wanted to have a conversation. So, you know, we firmly obviously believe that, you know, you got to keep all the laws. And I think, you ever heard of like Pascal's wager?
No.
Well, it's one of the Greek philosophers, you know, from back in the day. He just says, if I believe and it's not true, what's my penalty? But if I don't believe in God and it is true, I'm really, really short. You know what I mean? So a lot of kind of people just lean on that too. But to your point, that ain't enough either. Like, you got to actually love and care and appreciate Jesus and push forward and help your people and use that grace to our advantage. You know what I mean? Because you ain't just stoning the hell out of people and casting people aside, which what's happened in the church sometimes. But if my brother is, I'll use gay because we've been using it, I'm going to pull him closer to me. Like, hey, bro, you know what I mean? To try to help, as opposed to just casting people aside, you know what I mean? And not having these conversations. And that's how I knew you wasn't a Christian in the standard term, because you ready and willing and able, you know what I'm saying? Earnestly contend for your faith, you know, Jude 1, right? And we can go from there, continue to build, you know what I mean? And if you can't learn in this conversation, me or you or B, then we that's too much pride in itself.
Right.
You know, so that's dope.
Yeah.
Everybody done drop. Hey Frank, I'm gonna get your math from said, because we done bored everybody to death. But fuck them niggas, they be all right. Right. You see, B been texting, leaning back, had his feet up. But hey Frank, I love you, man. Definitely.
Love you too, bro.
Hey, I'm gonna get your math for sure. You live out here, right? In PG?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. We're gonna connect.
Okay, sounds good, bro.
Hey, be safe, Frank.
All right, take it. Thanks, B, for sticking with us to the end, man.
Word. Hey, Frank, I got a whole series of that ain't in the Bible. I'll show you some of them. Just like I did one on like drinking, like how the Christian churches say this, but the Bible says that. So I'll pull you into some of those too, for sure.
Okay, perfect.
All right, be safe.
All right, y'all. Take it easy.
Definitely.
Later.
All right.
Hey man, I apologize for the normal viewers. We've been all over the place, but it's been good, man. Shout out to Chaotic Truth for coming through. And we definitely gonna have that brother back on Thursday with the ladies. That's gonna be something.
It's gonna be interesting. It's just gonna be mad funny.
Facts. B, you got any and I was I like Frank. I like his understanding and all that, you know. And I didn't want to like go to my notes and stuff because I need to practice, you know. But Frank did good, right, B?
Yeah, Frank did excellent.
Yeah, he did good. Yeah. And I think we were kind of saying this thing, but it wasn't computing. Like,
because a lot of the words y'all was using, like you understood it, he understood it. Y'all just didn't want to say it together collectively.
Yeah, like it wasn't. And I knew I knew he was in the new covenant. And I knew, but if I say that early, we don't even get the dialogue.
No,
you know what I'm saying? And if I'm like, yeah, I'm an Israel, that's the same thing. Like niggas like, oh, okay, here you go. Now we know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that was good. That was good.
Yo, this is the long, but this is how the podcast need to be. We need like that 2 hours and 30 minutes like we at right now.
Yeah, facts. Listen, man. Me and B getting the fuck out of here. Like, share, subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. We out.